Look up at the night sky. Thousands of stars, billions of planets, and yet complete silence. No signals, no visitors, nothing. But what if that silence hides the greatest mysteries of the universe? From terrifying possibilities like the dark forest to mind-bending ideas like the consciousness gap and the cosmic inflation paradox, each theory could hold the answer to one of humanity's biggest questions: where is everybody? In this video, we're going to explore 26 of the most fascinating, chilling, and thought-provoking explanations for the Fermi Paradox, rewritten in simple, powerful storytelling, so you can feel the mystery as if you're standing at the edge of the universe itself. Before we begin this journey into the unknown, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and ring the bell so you don't miss future episodes. And I want to hear from you in the comments. Which of these paradoxes do you think is the real answer to the silence of the stars?
Fermi Paradox. The Fermi Paradox begins with a question that sounds simple, but quickly turns into one of the deepest mysteries in science. If the universe is so big, and if life seems so likely to exist out there, then why haven't we seen or heard from anyone yet? This puzzle is named after the famous physicist Enrico Fermi, who once asked during a casual lunch with colleagues, "Where is everybody?" The silence of the universe, despite the incredible number of stars and planets, is what we now call the Fermi Paradox. Let's start with the scale of the problem. Our Milky Way galaxy alone has about 100 to 400 billion stars. Astronomers have confirmed that most of these stars have planets orbiting them, and many of those planets are in the so-called habitable zone, the region where liquid water could exist. Even if life begins on only a small fraction of those worlds, we would expect millions of planets with at least microbial life. And if even a tiny percentage of those planets eventually develop intelligent beings, then our galaxy should be teeming with advanced civilizations. Given this math, it seems almost certain that we should not be alone. And yet, as far as we know, Earth is silent. One possible answer is that life itself is very rare. While planets may be common, the right conditions for life to form might be extremely unusual. On Earth, life started early, but it took billions of years for anything more advanced than bacteria to evolve. For most of Earth's history, microbes ruled the planet, and complex organisms only appeared relatively recently. If intelligence requires not just the spark of life, but billions of years of stable conditions, then maybe civilizations like ours are like rare diamonds, precious and almost impossible to find. But even if intelligent life is rare, the galaxy is so large that some civilizations should have appeared before us. And if even cheat, one civilization had a head start of a few million years. They could have had enough time to spread across the galaxy. Remember, the Milky Way is about 100,000 light years across. And with technology even a little more advanced than ours, spreading across it could happen on cosmic timescales that are short compared to the age of the universe. So, if advanced aliens existed, we might expect to see their traces everywhere. Giant megastructures, colonized planets, signals traveling through space. Instead, we see nothing. Another explanation is that civilizations do appear, but they do not last long. This idea is sometimes called the Great Filter. The filter is a kind of invisible wall that most civilizations never pass. It could be early in the process, meaning life itself almost never begins. Or it could be later, meaning civilizations often destroy themselves through war, environmental collapse, or uncontrollable technology like artificial intelligence before they spread into space. If the Great Filter lies ahead of us, it could mean our own future is in danger. If it lies behind us, then we may be one of the rare species to make it through. Some thinkers suggest a very different explanation. Maybe advanced civilizations are out there, but they choose to stay silent. The zoo hypothesis is one version of this, where aliens treat Earth like a protected preserve, observing us but avoiding interference, just as humans sometimes avoid disturbing wild animals. Another possibility is more chilling. The dark forest hypothesis suggests that the universe is like a dangerous jungle, where every civilization hides, fearing that others might destroy them if discovered. In this scenario, the silence is not surprising. It is a survival strategy. We might also be searching in the wrong way. Most of our efforts to detect extraterrestrial life focus on radio waves because that was our first method of long-distance communication. But advanced civilizations might use forms of communication we cannot yet imagine, perhaps quantum entanglement, neutrinos, or technologies beyond our physics. Their signals could be all around us, but we would not even recognize them. It would be like tuning an old radio while the universe is streaming through Wi-Fi. We simply would not notice. Distance is another problem. The universe is vast, and even light takes time to travel. If a civilization 1,000 light-years away sent a signal today, we would not hear it for another 1,000 years. And even if we do receive signals, they may have been sent by a civilization that no longer exists. We might be listening for voices that have already faded away. Our technology has only been capable of listening for about a century, which in cosmic terms is just the blink of an eye. If aliens tried to contact us 200 years ago, we would have completely missed it. Some argue that maybe aliens have already visited Earth, but we didn't notice, or the visits happened millions of years ago, long before humans existed. Earth is 4.5 billion years old, while human civilization is only a few thousand years old. The odds that another species would happen to visit in our short window of history are small. Even if they came recently, they may not have left behind obvious evidence, or perhaps we simply do not recognize what we're seeing. There's also the possibility that aliens are nothing like what we expect. We often imagine life that looks somewhat like us, carbon-based, needing water, living on planets. But what if life can exist in extreme forms we cannot detect? Perhaps they are based on silicon, or exist as plasma clouds, or live in the atmospheres of stars, whereas they could be around us but invisible to our senses and instruments. If that's the case, then the paradox is not that they don't exist, but that we don't know how to see them. A more radical explanation is the simulation hypothesis. If our universe is a simulation created by some higher intelligence, then maybe aliens were simply not programmed into the simulation. That would explain why the sky seems empty. It was designed to be that way. This idea may sound strange, but it highlights how the Fermi Paradox pushes us to think about the very nature of reality itself. At the heart of the Fermi Paradox lies a set of profound questions. If life is common, why haven't we seen it? If civilizations self-destruct, what makes us think we will be different? If others are hiding, what are they afraid of? Every possible answer opens new questions. Scientists continue to search. Space probes explore Mars and the outer planets for signs of life. Telescopes study exoplanets to see if they might have atmospheres or conditions similar to Earth. The search for extraterrestrial intelligence, SETI, keeps listening, hoping to catch even the faintest whisper of a message from beyond. So far, the universe remains silent. But silence is not proof of emptiness. It could just mean we need more time, better tools, or a new way of looking. The Fermi Paradox reminds us how little we know, and how vast the universe really is. It challenges our assumptions and forces us to confront both our loneliness and our possibilities. Maybe one day, a signal will arrive. Maybe we will discover ruins of an ancient civilization on a distant world. Or maybe we really are alone, the first sparks of intelligence in a dark and empty cosmos. Until then, we keep listening, keep wondering, and keep asking the same question. Where is everybody? The great silence, when we look up at the night sky, we are staring into a vast, almost unimaginable ocean of stars. The Milky Way alone contains hundreds of billions of them, and beyond our galaxy are hundreds of billions more. Many of these stars have planets, and among them, countless worlds should have conditions suitable for life. With so much potential, it feels almost certain that intelligent beings should exist out there, creatures with technology, culture, and the ability to communicate. And yet, despite decades of searching, we hear nothing. We see nothing. The universe is silent. This overwhelming, unsettling absence of contact is often called the Great Silence. The Great Silence is not simply the lack of evidence, it is the lack of answers. Scientists have been listening for decades using powerful radio telescopes, pointing giant antennas at the sky to catch even the faintest whisper of a message. We expected that with billions of potential civilizations, at least one would be sending out signals, intentionally or not. After all, our own planet has been leaking radio waves into space for over 100 years. TV broadcasts, radar, and now digital signals all flow outward from Earth at the speed of light, forming a growing bubble of human-made noise. If we are so loud, surely others should be too. But all we detect are natural signals, the crackle of pulsars, the hum of quasars, the static of the cosmos itself. No patterns, no voices, no messages. The first real effort to speak to the stars came in 1974, when scientists used the giant Arecibo telescope in Puerto Rico to send a coded radio message toward a distant star cluster. The message was simple. It included numbers, shapes, and a stick figure of a human being, basic information about us. If anyone received it, they might recognize it as a deliberate signal, but there was a catch. The target is 25,000 lig, 8 years away. That means the message will take 25,000 years to get there, and if anyone replies, it will take another 25,000 years to return. In human terms, that's an eternity. So, even when we try to break the silence, the universe responds with nothing but waiting. One explanation is that civilizations avoid broadcasting altogether. Maybe shouting your existence into the cosmos is dangerous. If the universe contains hostile species, then advertising your location could be a fatal mistake. Staying quiet could be the smartest survival strategy. But here's the problem. Out of billions of civilizations, surely at least one would decide to take the risk, to send a message, to try to reach out. All it takes is one to break the silence. So, why haven't we heard even that one? Another possibility is that intelligent life itself is extremely rare. The universe might be full of bacteria, algae, or simple creatures, but intelligent beings may be few and far between. Evolution does not guarantee intelligence. Dinosaurs ruled Earth for over 150 million years without ever building a single city or creating technology. Intelligence only appeared recently, and it may be far less common than we assume. If so, then maybe we really are alone, or nearly alone, in this galaxy. But even then, it seems unlikely that we are the only ones ever to exist. With billions of years behind us, why haven't we found the ruins of civilizations long gone?
That leads to another chilling thought. Maybe civilizations do not last. They rise, flourish for a while, and then collapse before they have the chance to spread across the stars. Nuclear war, environmental destruction, runaway artificial intelligence, or diseases could wipe out a species before it makes its mark on the galaxy. If this is true, then the universe could be full of the remains of lost civilizations, each one blinking out before contact could be made. But once again, we face the same problem. Where are the ruins? Where are the drifting probes, the ancient satellites, the abandoned megastructures? Space seems empty of even the ghosts of civilizations. Some scientists argue that we may be listening in the wrong way. Our search has focused on radio signals, because that's how we first communicated across great distances. But there is no reason to believe advanced civilizations would still be using radio. They might communicate using methods we don't yet understand, quantum entanglement, neutrino beams, or technologies beyond our imagination. If that's the case, their messages could be flooding the galaxy all around us, but we wouldn't recognize them. To us, their communication would be invisible, just more background noise. But communication is only part of the story. A civilization that spreads across planets and stars would surely leave physical signs. Cities, colonies, energy collectors, giant structures built to harness the power of suns. These should be visible even across great distances. We should see stars dimming under the weight of Dyson spheres, or unusual heat signatures from massive construction projects. Yet every star we look at appears natural. Every planet seems untouched. The silence is not only in sound, it is also in sight. Some thinkers propose that civilizations might turn inward instead of outward. Imagine a species that perfects virtual. The great silence forces us to reflect not only on aliens, but also on ourselves. What does it mean if we are truly alone in the galaxy? Does it make us unique and special, or does it place a heavy responsibility on us to survive and thrive as the only known intelligent beings? On the other hand, what if we are not alone, but destined never to make contact? Would that mean we are trapped in an endless search, surrounded by neighbors who will never answer? Despite all this, scientists continue to search. New telescopes scan the skies with greater sensitivity, looking for unusual signals or strange patterns of light. Space missions explore other planets, searching for even the faintest traces of life, past or present. Every discovery brings us closer to an answer, but so far the silence remains unbroken. The great silence is more than a scientific puzzle. It is a philosophical mirror. It challenges our assumptions about life, intelligence, and the universe itself. It asks us what it means to be alone, and whether silence should be comforting or terrifying. Perhaps tomorrow we will find a signal. Perhaps in 100 years we will uncover ruins on a distant planet. Or perhaps we will search forever, staring into the endless sky with no reply. For now, the great silence continues. Every star twinkles in quiet, every galaxy shines without a word, and the universe waits, calm, vast, and silent. And so we ask again with greater urgency, why isn't anyone speaking? Zoo hypothesis. Imagine you are walking through a thick forest. Suddenly, you notice a group of animals, maybe monkeys playing in the trees or deer grazing quietly. You stop and watch them, fascinated, but you decide not to step into their space. You don't want to scare them, change their behavior, or interfere with their lives. You stay hidden, silently observing. Now imagine that we, humanity, are those animals. And somewhere out there, intelligent extraterrestrial beings are the hidden observers. This is the idea behind the zoo hypothesis. The zoo hypothesis suggests that advanced alien civilizations might be aware of us, but have chosen not to contact us. Instead, they could be quietly watching, like zookeepers observing animals in a preserve. We may be under observation without even realizing it. To them, Earth could be an exhibit, a developing planet where intelligent life is just beginning to emerge. And just as we watch animals without explaining who we are, they might be watching us without revealing their presence. But why would they do this? One reason could be to avoid disrupting our natural development. Human history shows what happens when a technologically advanced society encounters a less advanced one. The results are often tragic: colonization, disease, exploitation, and even collapse of entire cultures. If aliens know this pattern, they may have decided that the safest approach is non-interference. By staying silent, they let us grow at our own pace, avoiding the risk of destabilizing our world. Think about what would happen if aliens suddenly revealed themselves. Overnight, every belief system on Earth would be shaken. Religions, politics, science, and culture would all be thrown into chaos. Some people might celebrate, others might panic. Governments could collapse under the pressure of explaining what is happening. Entire nations might refuse to act. If this rule exists, it also raises a question: who enforces it? If aliens are forbidden to contact us, is there a powerful civilization or alliance that makes sure the rule is followed? Could there be cosmic guardians patrolling the stars, silencing any group that tries to break the law? If so, the reason we haven't heard from anyone may not be because no one wants to talk, but because no one is allowed to. Some scientists also suggest that aliens may be actively hiding. Just as researchers in the wild wear camouflage to avoid being noticed by the animals they study, extraterrestrials could be deliberately concealing their presence. They might use technology to remain invisible, disguising their ships, signals, or even themselves. If they are advanced enough, they could already be here, on Earth, in orbit, or in our solar system, hidden beyond our ability to detect. To us, the universe looks silent, but that could be because the observers do not want to be found. But if the zoo hypothesis is true, it raises some uncomfortable questions. Will we ever be ready for contact? What criteria would aliens use to decide? Would it be when we stop fighting wars, when we eliminate poverty, when we build interstellar travel, or when we survive our technological adolescence without self-destruction? Maybe they are waiting for us to pass a test we don't even know we are taking, and if we fail, perhaps they will never reveal themselves. Human history offers parallels. There are still isolated tribes on Earth that remain uncontacted by modern society. Anthropologists often debate whether to leave them alone or make contact. In many cases, the decision is to observe from a distance, recognizing that interference could cause irreversible harm. If we, with our limited technology, can make this decision about other humans, then surely an alien civilization thousands or millions of years. Prime Directive Paradox. The Prime Directive Paradox is one of the most fascinating and unsettling ideas in the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. It begins with a simple question. If advanced alien civilizations exist, and if they follow a rule of non-interference, then why does this rule exist, and who enforces it? On the surface, the idea sounds noble. Maybe aliens refuse to contact us because they don't want to disturb our natural development. But when we think more deeply, the paradox becomes clear. If so many civilizations exist, why would all of them agree to stay silent? Surely at least one would have broken the rule by now. To understand this paradox, imagine a civilization thousands or millions of years ahead of us. They have mastered interstellar travel, they understand physics far beyond our knowledge, and they stumble upon a young species. Like us, they have two choices: They could step in, reveal themselves, and share their knowledge. This might allow the young species to advance quickly, avoid mistakes, and perhaps achieve peace and prosperity. But there's also a risk. Their interference might cause panic, collapse, or even destruction. Cultures could be destabilized. Wars might break out. The young species might become dependent or worse, wiped out entirely. This dilemma is not just theoretical. We have seen similar situations on Earth. When advanced human civilizations encountered less advanced ones, the results were almost always disastrous. The colonization of the Americas brought disease, cultural destruction, and exploitation to indigenous peoples. Encounters between industrial powers and isolated tribes often ended in tragedy. Even when intentions were good, the imbalance of power and knowledge was too great. History suggests that intervention, no matter how well-meaning, often causes more harm than good. If aliens have studied this pattern, that leads to a darker version of the paradox. Maybe there is enforcement, but not voluntary enforcement. Perhaps a powerful ancient civilization, or a group of civilizations, acts as galactic police. They monitor the galaxy, ensuring that no one contacts developing worlds. If a species tries to interfere, they are silenced, punished, or even destroyed. This would explain why we see nothing, because anyone who tries to reveal themselves to us is stopped before we notice. If this is true, then our silence is not natural, but enforced. But this idea has its own contradictions. If a powerful civilization is enforcing non-interference, isn't that interference itself? Watching others, controlling their actions, and preventing them from speaking is already a kind of involvement. The paradox deepens. In order to stop interference, interference is required. Another possibility is fear. Maybe civilizations do not follow the rule willingly, but because they are afraid. Imagine an ancient supercivilization that once ruled the stars, imposing strict laws on all others. Even if this civilization no longer exists, its reputation or its remnants might be enough to keep others quiet. The mere threat of punishment could be enough to enforce silence. Younger civilizations might grow up in the shadow of this fear, knowing that speaking out could invite destruction. But there's also a less dramatic explanation. Maybe advanced civilizations simply don't care. From their perspective, we might be as insignificant as ants are to us. When we walk through a forest, we see ant colonies, but we rarely stop to talk to them. We don't try to explain our culture or share our knowledge. At best, we observe them for curiosity. At worst, we ignore them entirely. To a civilization millions of years ahead of us, humanity's struggles might be unimportant. Our wars, our art, even our very existence might see. Until we know more, we continue to wonder. Are we being protected, ignored, or suppressed? Are we living in a galaxy governed by rules we don't yet understand? Or are we simply inventing reasons to explain a silence that hides something else entirely? The prime directive paradox leaves us with more questions than answers. And perhaps that is the point. If the rule exists, it means someone, or something, wants us to remain in the dark, at least for now. The real question is, will we ever grow enough to see the truth behind the silence? Dark forest hypothesis. Picture yourself in the middle of a dense, pitch-black forest at night. You cannot see very far, but you know that others are out there. You don't know how many. You don't know if they are friendly or hostile. You don't know if they are hunting or hiding, armed or defenseless. The only thing you know is that if they see you first, it could mean the end. So you stay quiet. You move carefully. You make no sound. You hide your presence. This metaphor describes one of the most haunting theories in the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, the dark forest hypothesis. The dark forest hypothesis comes from science fiction, specifically the novel The Dark Forest by Chinese author Liu Cixin. But it is more than just a story. It is a chilling logical explanation for the silence of the universe. The idea is simple. The universe is like a dark forest, and every civilization is a hunter. In such a forest, shouting out your location is dangerous, because anyone who hears you might decide to eliminate you before you become a threat. Silence, therefore, is not strange. It is survival. This logic begins with two assumptions. First, every civilization wants to survive. Second, no civilization can ever be completely sure of the intentions of another. Will they be peaceful, or will they be aggressive? Will they cooperate, or will they conquer? Because the stakes are so high, survival itself, civilizations may choose to act in the safest way possible. And in the dark forest, The safest action is to remain hidden, and if you discover another, to eliminate them before they eliminate you. Human history gives us examples of this kind of logic. When powerful civilizations encountered weaker ones, the weaker often suffered. The colonization of the Americas by Europeans led to destruction and disease for indigenous peoples. In countless wars throughout history, the uncertain...
Of course, there are counter-arguments. Some believe that advanced civilizations would have evolved beyond such paranoia. If they have survived for millions of years, they might have found ways to cooperate instead of destroy. Perhaps they form peaceful networks, sharing knowledge across the stars. Others argue that even if hostile civilizations exist, the galaxy is so vast that the odds of contact remain extremely low. Light years of distance act as a natural shield, making encounters rare. But the dark forest hypothesis has a powerful response. All it takes is one hostile civilization, one species with the ability to spread across the stars and a philosophy of preemptive destruction, and the forest becomes dangerous for everyone. Just as a single predator can terrify a forest, a single aggressive alien species could silence the galaxy. Some skeptics point out another problem. If civilizations were constantly destroying each other, we should see evidence, ruins, debris, or strange energy signatures. But the dark forest hypothesis counters this as well. If a civilization is advanced enough to wipe out another, they could also erase the evidence. They might destroy entire planets, reduce them to dust, or use technologies beyond our understanding to make their attacks invisible. In that case, the lack of evidence does not prove safety. It only proves thoroughness. The hypothesis also raises questions about humanity's future. Should we continue searching for signals, or should we stay quiet? Should we prepare defenses in case we are discovered, or should we assume the risks are minimal? Some argue that the danger is overstated. After all, if hostile civilizations were out there, surely they would have found us by now. Others reply that maybe they already have, but they are waiting until we cross a threshold, like developing interstellar travel before acting. If so, our survival may depend on what choices we make in the near future. There's also the possibility that the forest is not full of the living hunters, but of silent machines. Imagine self-replicating probes, sent out by civilizations long extinct, programmed to eliminate potential threats. These machines would act without mercy, wiping out civilizations before they grow too advanced. If such machines exist, then survival truly depends on staying hidden. The dark forest hypothesis is chilling, not only because of what it suggests about aliens, but also because of what it suggests about ourselves. If the universe really works this way, then silence is wisdom, broadcasting is reckless, and survival depends not on reaching out, but on staying quiet. Humanity may already have made a mistake by revealing its presence. If others are listening, then we have already stepped into the open, shining a light in the forest. Yet the hypothesis also challenges us. If the forest is dark, should we cower in fear, or should we learn to walk carefully, building the tools to defend ourselves? Should we continue shouting, hoping for friends, or whisper, waiting until we are strong enough to face whatever might come? The dark forest hypothesis does not offer comforting answers. Instead, it gives us a harsh reminder. Survival may not favor the brave, but the silent. And perhaps that is why the stars are so quiet. Not because the universe is empty, but because everyone in it has already learned the same lesson. In a dark forest, those who shout may not be around for long. The Berserker Paradox, among all the explanations for the Fermi Paradox, few are as dark and terrifying as the Berserker Paradox. It suggests that the universe may be quiet, not because no one is out there, but because someone, or something, is destroying civilizations before they can grow, spread, or make themselves known. The silence of the stars in this view is not natural. It is artificial. It is enforced. And it could mean that we are living in the aftermath of countless acts of cosmic extermination. The term berserker comes from science fiction writer Fred Saberhagen, who imagined ancient self-replicating machines built for one purpose: to destroy life. These machines, like galactic predators, would roam the stars, multiplying endlessly, hunting down any civilization that revealed itself. Once they found life, they would wipe it out completely, leaving only silence behind. The chilling part of the berserker idea is that it does not require cruelty, malice, or hatred. The machines may simply be following their programming, mindlessly carrying out orders written long ago by civilizations that may no longer even exist. The Berserker Paradox is built on the concept of self-replicating probes. In theory, a civilization advanced enough could build machines capable of repairing themselves, copying themselves, and using the resources of planets or asteroids to create more versions. These von Neumann probes could spread across a galaxy in only a few million years, a blink of an eye in cosmic terms. If even one civilization decided to build Berserker-style probes, the entire galaxy could be filled with them in a relatively short time. The result? Every emerging civilization, including ours, would eventually be found and destroyed. This idea gives a terrifying explanation for the Great Silence. Maybe civilizations do arise. Maybe they flourish for a while, build cities, and signals, even travel into space. But sooner or later, they are discovered. Once they are erased. That would explain why we see no signs of alien empires, no megastructures, no galactic communication networks. It is not because they never existed. It is because they were destroyed before we had the chance to notice. But why would anyone build such machines in the first place? One possibility is fear. Imagine a civilization that believes the dark forest hypothesis. They conclude that other intelligent beings are too dangerous to leave alone. To ensure their survival, they create machines that will strike first, wiping out others before they have the chance to become threats. Another possibility is war. Two civilizations might have fought long ago, and in their desperation, one side unleashed berserker machines as ultimate weapons. Even if the war ended, the machines could continue on their own, following their programming long after their creators disappeared. The most frightening version, however, is pure accident. A civilization might have created machines for exploration, colonization, or resource gathering. But if a mistake in the programming caused them to treat all life as competition, they might begin destroying everything they encountered. Over time, these machines would act like a cosmic disease, spreading uncontrollably and wiping out life wherever it appeared. Their creators might have perished, but the machines would continue forever, unstoppable and indifferent. The Berserker Paradox also raises an unsettling question. If such machines exist, why haven't we encountered them yet? One answer is timing. The galaxy is vast, and it takes time for even the fastest machines to spread. Maybe the Berserkers are out there, but they simply haven't reached us yet. Another possibility is that they are here already, hiding, watching, waiting for the right moment to strike. If their goal is to eliminate potential threats, they might wait until we cross a certain threshold, such as developing interstellar travel, before acting. Until then, they could monitor us in silence, invisible and patient. There are also theories that civilizations may have already fallen victim to berserkers, and we are simply too late to notice. Planets that once hosted intelligent beings might now be barren wastelands. Civilizations that once built cities may have been erased so thoroughly that no evidence remains. Even stars that seem normal to us might hide histories of entire species wiped out long ago. In this view, the galaxy is not empty. It is a graveyard. Still, some scientists argue against the berserker idea. They point out that if such machines existed, the galaxy should be completely sterilized by now. Life itself should not have survived, and yet, here we are. Earth still thrives, and we have seen no signs of cosmic predators. But supporters of the theory counter that perhaps we are simply living in a rare, safe zone, or that the berserkers have not yet arrived. Another possibility is that Earth has already been noticed but deliberately spared, for reasons we cannot understand. There is also a hopeful alternative. Maybe not all probes are berserkers. Perhaps some civilizations send out seeder probes, designed to spread life instead of destroying it. These machines would fertilize planets, carrying microbes or genetic material across the stars. Over billions of years, they might seed entire galaxies with life. If so, Earth itself might owe its existence to such a seeder probe. In this scenario, berserkers and seeders could be locked in a silent war across the galaxy, one side creating, the other destroying. The balance of this war would decide the fate of every emerging world, including ours. The Berserker Paradox is especially unsettling because it forces us to think about our own future. Could humanity one day build such machines? As our technology advances, self-replicating probes may become possible, And if we ever face an existential threat from another species, we might be tempted to build weapons that ensure our survival, even at the cost of others. The Berserker scenario may not be something aliens invented. It may be a danger inherent in intelligence itself. Every species that reaches a certain level of power might face the temptation to unleash machines they cannot control. For now, the evidence is absent. We see no Berserker fleets, no destroyed planets, no galaxy-wide sterilization. But absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. The silence of the stars may itself be the best evidence. If Berserkers destroy civilizations before they spread, then of course the galaxy would appear quiet. Of course we would see nothing. The silence would be the exact outcome we should expect. The Berserker Paradox reminds us that the universe may not be friendly, safe, or cooperative. It may be hostile, dangerous, and ruled by ancient machines with no mercy and no conscience. If that is true, then survival depends on one thing: staying hidden. Humanity may already have revealed itself too much, sending signals, launching probes, and shining lights into the dark forest of space. If the Berserkers are real, then every broadcast, every transmission, every sign of life could be a beacon inviting destruction. Whether the Berserker Paradox is true or not, it teaches us a lesson about caution. The universe may not reward the loudest or the bravest. It may reward the quiet, the careful, and the hidden. And if the silence of the stars is not natural, then perhaps it is because countless civilizations before us have already learned the hard way. In the presence of Berserkers, silence is survival. Von Neumann probi absence. One of the strangest and most puzzling aspects of the Fermi Paradox is not just the silence of the stars, but the absence of machines, specifically the absence of what are known as von Neumann probes, self-replicating spacecraft that, in theory, could spread across the galaxy in a surprisingly short amount of time. The fact that we have not seen them is often considered one of the strongest arguments that something strange, dangerous, or unknown is happening in our universe. The idea of von Neumann probes comes from the mathematician and physicist John von Neumann, who, in the mid-20th century, explored the concept of self-replicating systems. The logic is simple. If you can build a machine that can copy itself using raw materials from its environment, you can create a technology that can multiply exponentially. Now, imagine such machines launched into space. Each probe could land on an asteroid or a moon, mine resources, and build copies of itself. Those copies would then travel to new star systems, repeating the process over and over. Within a few million years, an eye blink on cosmic timescales, the entire galaxy could be filled with these probes. This idea is powerful because it doesn't require vast fleets or near-magical technology. It requires only one successful civilization creating one self-replicating machine. Once launched, the probes would do the rest on their own. They would expand outward, unstoppable and nearly immortal. Over billions of years, even a single species could populate every corner of the galaxy with their machines. If intelligent civilizations are common, then by now we should expect the Milky Way to be buzzing with such probes. But when we look out into space, we see nothing. No fleets of robotic explorers, no evidence of alien mining, no self-replicating technology, just silence. This puzzle is called the von Neumann probe absence paradox. It forces us to ask, if civilizations can create such machines, and if the universe is so old, then why don't we see them everywhere? One possible answer is that civilizations never build them. Perhaps self-replicating machines are harder to create than we imagine. While the idea sounds simple, in practice it would require extraordinary levels of engineering. A probe would need to harvest raw materials, refine them, manufacture parts, assemble new copies, and program them correctly, all without human supervision. Maybe no species ever gets advanced enough to solve all these problems. If so, then the absence of probes may simply mean that even advanced civilizations have limits. But others argue this explanation is weak. After all, humanity is already taking early steps towards such technology. We build robots that assemble cars, factories that manufacture goods with minimal human input, and spacecraft that operate autonomously. With enough time, it seems likely we could create machines capable of reproducing themselves in space. If we can imagine it with our limited technology, surely a civilization millions of years older than ours could accomplish it. Another explanation is fear. Von Neumann probes, if built, could easily spiral out of control. Imagine one malfunctioning probe misinterprets its programming and begins consuming all available resources, multiplying endlessly like a swarm of locusts. In no time, it could become a galaxy-wide plague, devouring planets and asteroids without limit. Scientists call this the gray goo scenario. Civilizations might avoid creating self-replicating machines out of caution, fearing they could lose control of them. In this case, the absence of probes would be a sign of wisdom, not failure. But what if some civilizations did build them? That brings us to darker explanations. Perhaps the probes are out there, but they are not explorers. They are hunters. This idea overlaps with the Berserker Paradox. Some probes may have been designed to seek and destroy rather than explore and share. If so, the reason we don't see probes could be that any probes we might detect are destroyed before reaching us, or any civilizations that launch them are silenced. The galaxy could be full of invisible wars between machines, with us oblivious in the crossfire. There is also the possibility that probes exist, but they are deliberately hiding. Advanced machines might be programmed to avoid detection, cloaking themselves, or disguising their activity. If their creators wanted to observe rather than reveal, the probes could be silently watching us right now. In fact, some UFO enthusiasts suggest that strange sightings on Earth could be probes that slip through their camouflage. Scientists remain skeptical, but the idea cannot be completely ruled out. If probes are designed to hide, then their absence from our perspective is exactly what we should expect. Another possibility is that probes do exist, but in forms we cannot recognize. We imagine metallic machines, rockets, or satellites, but alien technology may look completely different. Perhaps probes are microscopic, like swarms of nanobots drifting through interstellar dust. Perhaps they are biological, seeded like spores to spread from star to star. Perhaps they use physics we do not yet understand, traveling through dimensions or using dark matter as fuel. If so, we might be surrounded by probes, unable to detect or even imagine what they really are. The absence of von Neumann probes also raises philosophical questions. What if civilizations lose interest in expansion? To us, the idea of spreading across the galaxy seems natural, but maybe it isn't. Advanced civilizations may turn inward, focusing on virtual realities, digital worlds, or spiritual pursuits. To them, filling the galaxy with machines might seem pointless, dangerous, or childish. If every civilization makes this choice, then the galaxy remains empty of probes, not because they cannot exist, but because no one bothers to build them. Then again, maybe probes did exist once, but they are gone. Perhaps billions of years ago, civilizations filled the galaxy with machines, but time has erased them. Probes could decay, fail, or be destroyed by cosmic events like supernovas, black holes, or collisions. If probes require constant maintenance, then once their creators are gone, they might eventually disappear. The silence we see today may simply mean we live in the aftermath of a long-dead galactic era. A more radical explanation is that probes are not absent at all. We are living inside their legacy. Some scientists suggest that Earth itself might have been seeded by probes in the distant past. Life may not have started naturally here, but may have been planted as part of a vast project to spread biology across the stars. If true, then we might be the product of von Neumann probes, living evidence of their success. In this view, the absence of probes is only apparent because their work has already been completed. The von Neumann probe absence forces us to rethink our assumptions about intelligence, survival, and ambition. If civilizations can build such machines but choose not to, what does that say about their priorities? If they built them and we don't see them, does that mean they are hidden, destroyed, or beyond our comprehension? And if probes really are absent, does that mean we are the first civilization to reach this stage, pioneers in a galaxy that has never seen self-replicating machines before? For humanity, the question is not just theoretical. One day, we may have the technology to build von Neumann probes ourselves. Should we launch them, exploring and colonizing the galaxy? Or should we resist the temptation, fearing the risks of uncontrolled replication? The answer we choose may decide not only our future, but the fate of all life we encounter. Until then, the paradox remains. The galaxy is ancient, the technology is imaginable, the opportunity is clear, and yet, The sky is empty of probes. The silence continues. The question lingers. Where are they? Timescale disparity. When we think about alien civilizations, we often imagine them existing at the same time as us, alive right now, somewhere out there in the galaxy. We picture them building cities, sending signals, or looking back at us through their telescopes. But what if the real reason we haven't seen them is much simpler and much sadder? What if the universe is full of civilizations, but they rise and fall at different times, never overlapping? This is the idea behind the timescale disparity hypothesis. The universe is old, very old. Astronomers estimate it to be about 13.8 billion years in age. For comparison, Earth is only 4.5 billion years old, and humans, modern Homo sapiens, have only been around for about 300,000 years. Our technological civilization, the kind capable of sending radio waves into space, has existed for barely a century. That's less than a blink on the cosmic clock. When you look at those numbers, you begin to realize something profound. The odds of two civilizations existing at the exact same time are shockingly small. Imagine a galaxy filled with intelligent species, but each one rises, flourishes for a while, and then disappears. Maybe they last 10,000 years, maybe a million, maybe longer, but compared to the billions of years the galaxy has existed, even a million years is a short flash of light. Civilizations might be like fireflies in the night, each glowing for a moment, then vanishing, with no guarantee that two will ever glow at once in the same place. This perspective changes the way we think about the Great Silence. Maybe the galaxy has been full of civilizations, just not all at once. Maybe millions of them have lived and died before us, and millions more will come after us. But right now, in this tiny slice of cosmic time, we happen to be alone. If so, the silence is not a mystery at all. It is simply bad timing. Consider how fragile civilizations are, even on Earth. Great empires rise and fall within centuries. Languages vanish, cultures disappear, nations collapse. Our modern global civilization feels stable, but history shows how quickly things can change. Now extend this fragility to the level of a species. Climate change, nuclear war, pandemics, asteroid impacts, or even technological accidents could wipe us out in the blink of an eye. Perhaps most civilizations do not last very long once they reach technological power. Maybe intelligence itself is unstable, and short-lived civilizations are the rule rather than the exception. But even if some civilizations manage to survive for millions of years, the problem of time-scale disparity remains. Imagine a species that reached spacefaring technology 100 million years ago. They could have explored the galaxy, built wonders, and then disappeared long before we appeared on Earth. If they left behind monuments or probes, those artifacts might now be lost, buried, or eroded by time. We would never know they had existed. From our perspective, the galaxy would still look empty. Some scientists argue that this idea could explain why we don't see ruins or megastructures. Even the most durable structures decay eventually. A Dyson sphere, a massive construction built to capture a star's energy, might fall apart over millions of years. Probes might break down. Colonies might collapse and vanish. Over billions of years, even great civilizations could leave almost no trace. Just as the ruins of ancient human cultures on Earth are sometimes difficult to find after only a few thousand years, galactic civilizations might vanish into dust on cosmic timescales. This also changes how we think about searching for signals. Our radio telescopes have only been listening for about 60 years. That's a tiny window. If another civilization sent signals 200 years ago, we would have missed them. If they send them 200 years from now, we won't be around to hear them. The odds of our 100-year-old listening window lining up with another civilization's transmission window are incredibly slim. The silence we hear may simply be the sound of us tuning in too early or too late. The timescale disparity hypothesis can be illustrated with an analogy. Imagine standing on a beach, waiting for a lighthouse far away to flash its light. But the lighthouse only flashes once every 1,000 years. You could stand there for your entire life and never see it, even though it is real and functioning. That is our situation with alien civilizations. They may exist, but our lives, and even our species' lifespan, are too short compared to the timescales of the galaxy. There's another angle, evolution itself. Life on Earth took billions of years to reach intelligence. but evolution is not guaranteed to proceed at the same pace everywhere. On one planet, intelligence may arise quickly. On another, it may never arise at all. On yet another, it may appear billions of years before or after us. If intelligence is scattered randomly across billions of years, then civilizations may almost never overlap in time. The universe may be full of intelligent life, just not all alive at the same moment. The idea can be both comforting and unsettling. Comforting because it suggests we are not truly alone. Others have existed, and others will exist again. But unsettling because it implies we will never meet them. The window of opportunity is too narrow. By the time we are ready to listen, they may already be gone. By the time another species listens, we may be extinct. We pass, like ships in the night, never crossing paths. Some scientists suggest that artifacts may be the only way civilizations can communicate across time. Instead of relying on direct contact, they might leave behind signals designed to last for millions or billions of years, etched into planets, encoded in the DNA of living things, or buried in durable materials like crystals or asteroids. These messages across time could outlive the civilizations themselves, serving as a way to bridge the time gap. Perhaps we should focus not only on listening for signals, but also on searching for long-lasting relics. Another possibility is that the time disparity is not random, but patterned. Maybe civilizations rise and fall in cycles, linked to galactic events like supernova waves, gamma-ray bursts, or cycles of star formation. If so, civilizations may emerge in clusters, periods of time when conditions are favorable for life, followed by long dark ages when they are not. If we live in a dark age, that could explain the silence. We may simply be too early or too late for the next wave of civilizations. The timescale disparity hypothesis also challenges us to think about our future. If most civilizations vanish quickly, then survival requires breaking the pattern. We must learn to last not just centuries, but millennia, perhaps millions of years. If we can endure long enough, the odds of overlapping with another species increase dramatically. Survival, in this sense, is not just about protecting humanity. It is about increasing the chance that one day we will meet others. In the end, the silence of the stars may not mean emptiness. It may mean that we are living in a lonely stretch of cosmic time, waiting for others who have already passed or who have not yet arrived. The universe could be filled with civilizations, but scattered across history, like pearls along an endless thread, too far apart in time to ever touch. The timescale disparity reminds us that patience is as important as curiosity. If we want to hear the voices of others, we may need to become a civilization that can wait, not just for years or centuries, but for as long as the stars themselves. The simulation paradox. What if the reason we have not found aliens is not because they don't exist, but because they were never programmed to exist? What if the silence of the universe is not natural at all, but artificial? An illusion created inside a vast digital simulation. This is the unsettling idea behind the simulation paradox, a concept that pushes the Fermi Paradox into the realm of philosophy, computer science, and metaphysics. The simulation hypothesis suggests that our universe might not be base reality at all. Instead, everything we see, touch, and experience could be the product of an advanced computer simulation, created by a far more powerful intelligence. In such a scenario, we are like characters inside a video game, believing the game world is real, unaware that we are being rendered and calculated by an external system. The paradox comes when we apply this to the question of extraterrestrial life. If the universe is simulated, then perhaps aliens are not included in the program, and that is why we never find them. This idea is not as far-fetched as it sounds. Look at the progress of human technology. Just a few decades ago, video games were simple blocks of pixels. Today we can create vast, detailed virtual worlds, realistic environments, and even simulations of entire planets. Artificial intelligence can generate characters that behave and respond like living beings. Now imagine a civilization thousands or millions of years ahead of us. Their computational power would dwarf ours. They could simulate entire galaxies, complete with stars, planets, and perhaps even conscious beings who do not realize they are simulated. If this is possible, then the simulation paradox asks, why would such a civilization bother to simulate billions of stars and planets, but leave the universe silent? Why create us, but no aliens? One answer is efficiency. Just as VSA, game designers create enough detail to make the world feel real, but not more than necessary. Perhaps our simulators created only what was needed for our experience. We expect a universe with stars and planets, so the simulation includes them. But do we really need aliens for the program to function? Maybe not. The absence of aliens could simply be an optimization, less data to simulate, fewer interactions to process. The silence of the cosmos might be a feature, not a bug. Another possibility is that the simulation is an experiment. Perhaps the creators wanted to study the development of a single intelligent species, undisturbed by contact with others. We are like laboratory animals in a controlled environment. If aliens existed in our simulation, they might interfere with the results, complicating the study. By keeping the universe empty, the simulators ensure that we are the sole focus of the experiment. There's also the idea of testing. The creators might be waiting to see what we do when faced with silence. Will we despair, or will we reach for the stars anyway? Will we destroy ourselves, or will we endure long enough to uncover the truth? The Fermi Paradox, in this view, is not a mystery, but a test written into the code of the simulation, designed to push us towards self-discovery. Of course, the simulation paradox raises deeper questions. If we are inside a simulation, can we ever prove it? Philosophers argue that if the simulation is advanced enough, it would be indistinguishable from reality. Every law of physics, every particle, every star would behave exactly as expected. Unless the creators leave a flaw, a glitch, or a deliberate clue, we may never know for certain. Some scientists suggest we might find hints in the laws of physics, like discovering that the universe is pixelated at the smallest scales, or that there are limits to computation hidden in nature. Others think such clues may already exist, but we have not recognized them. But there is another side to the paradox. If civilizations can create simulations, then it is likely that most conscious beings in the universe are simulated rather than real. For every base reality, there could be millions of simulations stacked within it. If that's true, the odds that we are in base reality are incredibly small. We are almost certainly simulated. And if that is the case, then searching for aliens outside Earth may be pointless. The simulation may not include them because they were never part of the scenario. Still, the paradox goes deeper. If we are in a simulation, what happens when we create our own simulations? Already, we build virtual worlds, simulate societies, and create artificial intelligence. As our technology advances, we may build simulations so detailed that the beings inside them believe they are real. In that case, we would be simulations creating simulations, layers upon layers, each one oblivious to the levels above. How deep could the rabbit hole go? Could our simulators themselves be simulated? Could reality be an infinite chain of simulations, with no real world at all? The simulation paradox also touches on the idea of purpose. If we are simulated, then why were we created? Are we entertainment, like characters in a galactic video game? Are we an experiment, studied by scientists in another reality? Are we art, a story written for amusement? Or are we prisoners, confined to a reality we cannot escape? The absence of aliens could reflect any of these purposes. Maybe the creators did not care to populate the galaxy. Maybe they wanted us to feel alone. Or maybe they are watching to see how we respond to the loneliness. The most unsettling thought is the possibility of termination. If we are inside a program, then the program could be shut down at any time. A glitch, a power failure, or simply the decision of the creators could end our universe instantly. From our perspective, it would feel like apocalypse. From theirs, it would be as simple as pressing a button. In that sense, the Fermi Paradox is not just about loneliness. It could be about fragility. The silence of the stars may remind us not only that we might be alone, but also that our existence depends on forces beyond our comprehension. And yet, the simulation paradox is not entirely bleak. It also suggests that our universe is not meaningless. If we are simulated, then we were created intentionally. Someone, somewhere, chose to bring us into existence. That choice may give our lives purpose, even if we don't know what it is. And perhaps the silence of the universe is not a sign of emptiness, but a reminder that we are part of a story bigger than ourselves. In the end, the simulation paradox challenges the way we think about reality. The silence of the stars may not mean the universe is empty. It may mean the universe is designed. And if that is true, then the real question is not, where is everybody, but who is running the simulation and why? Self-destruction dilemma. One of the most sobering explanations for the Fermi Paradox is the self-destruction dilemma. It suggests that intelligent civilizations may be rare not because life is hard to start, but because intelligence itself carries the seeds of its own destruction. In other words, civilizations may routinely wipe themselves out before they ever have the chance to explore the stars. The silence of the galaxy may not be proof that aliens never existed. It may be the graveyard silence of countless species that destroyed themselves. Think about what happens when a species becomes intelligent. With intelligence comes power, the ability to manipulate the environment, to build tools, to create technology. For billions of years, life on Earth was limited by the slow pace of evolution. Bacteria, plants, and animals lived and died, shaped by natural selection. But then humans appeared, and within a few thousand years, an instant on geological timescales, we transformed the planet. We built cities, machines, rockets, and weapons. In just a blink of cosmic time, we went from stone tools to nuclear bombs. That incredible leap reveals both the promise and the danger of intelligence. The self-destruction dilemma argues that once civilizations reach technological maturity, they almost always invent tools powerful enough to destroy themselves, and they almost always use them. Nuclear weapons are the most obvious example for us. With the push of a button, humanity has the ability to end itself. During the Cold War, we lived under the shadow of mutually assured destruction, where a single mistake or misunderstanding could have led to global annihilation. Even today, the threat has not gone away. Thousands of warheads still exist, and political tensions remind us that the possibility of disaster is always lurking, but nuclear weapons are just the beginning. Other technology as also carry existential risks. Climate change, fueled by industrial activity, could destabilize ecosystems, melt ice caps, and make Earth uninhabitable for human civilization. Biotechnology could produce engineered viruses capable of spreading uncontrollably. Artificial intelligence, if created without safeguards, could turn hostile or simply pursue goals that are incompatible with human survival. Nanotechnology, misused, could lead to runaway gray goo, consuming the planet. Each step forward in our power creates new risks. Intelligence gives us the ability to shape worlds, but it also gives us the ability to destroy them. If this is true for us, it may be true for others. Perhaps countless civilizations across the galaxy have reached the point of technological adolescence, only to collapse under the weight of their own inventions. They may have destroyed their ecosystems, unleashed plagues, built hostile AIs, or fought wars that ended in extinction. From their perspective, survival may have seemed certain, until suddenly it wasn't. The silence of the stars, then, is not because civilizations never arise, but because they rarely survive. There is a chilling logic here. Civilizations that reach space travel must pass through a dangerous bottleneck. Before they can spread across the stars, they must survive the period when their destructive power outpaces their wisdom. This adolescent phase may last only a few hundred or thousand years, a short time compared to the billions of years a planet exists. If most civilizations fail to navigate this phase, then it is no wonder the galaxy looks empty. The survivors are rare exceptions, perhaps so rare that we have not yet encountered any. The self-destruction dilemma also explains why we see no evidence of alien megastructures, colonies, or probes. Civilizations may begin to build them, but they collapse before they spread far. Their ruins may exist, but time erases them. Over millions of years, cities crumble, satellites decay, and even planetary-scale structures may vanish into dust. The galaxy may be filled with the remains of civilizations that once dreamed of the stars, but never made it. We simply arrived too late to see them. But there is a more hopeful side to this idea, too. If the self-destruction dilemma is real, then our survival is not impossible. It just requires wisdom. The very fact that we are aware of these dangers is a sign of hope. We know about nuclear risks, climate change, and artificial intelligence. We debate them, study them, and search for solutions. Perhaps awareness is the first step toward survival. If we can learn restraint, cooperation, and foresight, we may be able to pass through the bottleneck and become one of the rare civilizations that endures. Still, the dilemma is not only about weapons or technology, it is also about psychology. Intelligence brings not only creativity but also conflict. Human history is filled with war, greed, and division. The same intelligence that lets us build rockets also fuels rivalry and mistrust. For a civilization to survive, it must overcome its own nature. Perhaps most species fail because they cannot control their destructive instincts. Perhaps self-destruction is not an accident, but an inevitability of intelligent life. There is also the possibility of slow self-destruction. Civilizations may not end with explosions or catastrophes, but with gradual decline. They may exhaust their resources, collapse under inequality, or lose the will to expand. They may stagnate, retreat into virtual realities, or simply fade away. The silence of the stars would reflect not sudden destruction, but the quiet failure of ambition. Civilizations might die not with a bang, but with a whimper. The self-destruction dilemma forces us to look in the mirror. If this is the truth of the universe, then our greatest challenge is not finding aliens, but surviving long enough to meet them. Every step forward in our technology is a test. Will we use it to build or to destroy? Will we master our power, or will we fall to it like so many before us? The paradox also asks us to consider responsibility. If we are among the few civilizations to survive, then we may carry a burden. We may be the only voice of intelligence in a vast, silent galaxy. That makes our choices matter even more. We are not only fighting for our survival, we may be fighting for the survival of intelligence itself. In the end, the self-destruction dilemma is both terrifying and motivating. It suggests the silence of the universe may be a warning, a graveyard whisper telling us to tread carefully. But it also offers a path forward. If we can recognize the danger and learn to manage it, we may be able to break the pattern, to endure when others could not. The future of humanity depends on whether we can escape our own worst instincts. The question is not only where is everybody, but also will we last long enough to join them, if they exist at all? Rare Earth Hypothesis Paradox. When we look at the night sky, filled with billions of stars and countless planets, it feels almost inevitable that life must exist elsewhere. Statistically, the numbers seem overwhelming. Surely Earth cannot be unique. Yet the Rare Earth Hypothesis takes the opposite view. It argues that while simple life, bacteria, algae, microbes, might be common in the universe, complex, intelligent life like us could be extraordinarily rare, perhaps even unique to Earth. The paradox emerges when we ask, if Earth is so rare, then why does it appear so ordinary? At first glance, Earth does not seem special at all. It orbits an average star in an average galaxy, not too large or too small, not too old or too young. Our sun is not the brightest or the biggest, and our planet is just one of trillions. But when you look closer, Earth is actually the result of a remarkable combination of circumstances, each one unlikely, and together perhaps almost impossible. The Rare Earth Hypothesis suggests that these conditions are so precise, so finely tuned, that they may occur only once in the galaxy, or even once in the universe. Let's break down some of the conditions that make Earth what it is. First is location. Earth orbits in the so-called habitable zone, the narrow region around the sun where liquid water can exist. Too close, and the oceans would boil away. Too far, and everything would freeze. Many planets exist in habitable zones, but being in the right spot is just the beginning. Next is stability. Earth's orbit is almost perfectly circular, keeping our distance from the sun relatively constant. Our tilted axis gives us seasons, but not extreme ones. Our sun is unusually stable compared to many stars. It does not flare wildly, does not flood us with deadly radiation, and has burned steadily for billions of years. This kind of stability may be less common than we assume. Around other stars, conditions may change too quickly for life to evolve beyond microbes. Then there is Earth's moon, which plays a surprisingly important role. Our moon is unusually large compared to our planet, and it stabilizes Earth's axial tilt. Without the moon, Earth's tilt might wobble chaotically, leading to extreme climate shifts that could prevent complex life from evolving. The moon also creates tides, which may have been crucial in the early development of life in tidal pools. How many planets have such a perfectly placed, stabilizing moon? We don't know, but it may be rare. Earth also has plate tectonics, the shifting of massive plates that make up the crust. This process recycles carbon and regulates the climate over millions of years, preventing Earth from freezing or overheating. Without plate tectonics, a planet may quickly become a frozen wasteland or a scorched desert. So far, Earth is the only planet we know with active plate tectonics. We also have a protective magnetic field generated by Earth's molten core. This magnetic shield deflects solar wind and cosmic radiation, protecting our atmosphere from being stripped away. Mars, for example, once had water, but when its magnetic field died, the solar wind blew its atmosphere into space, leaving it barren. Without our magnetic shield, Earth might have suffered the same fate. Even Earth's history of disasters seems strangely fortunate. Our planet has been struck by asteroids, but not too often and not too large, enough to shake things up, wipe out dominant species like the dinosaurs, and give mammals a chance to rise, but not enough to sterilize the planet entirely. The balance of catastrophe and recovery may be one more reason intelligence had a chance to emerge here. Now, consider the timescale. Life appeared on Earth quickly, within a few 100 million years after the planet formed. But complex life, multicellular organisms, did not appear until much later, about 600 million years ago. For most of Earth's history, the planet was dominated by microbes. Intelligence, culture, and technology have existed for only a fraction of that time, less than 0.01% of Earth's age. This suggests that while microbes may arise often, intelligent life may be a rare fluke, dependent on a long chain of coincidences. This is where the paradox sharpens. If the rare Earth hypothesis is correct, then we may be alone in the galaxy. The conditions that produced us may be so unlikely that they almost never occur. And yet, when we look at Earth, it doesn't feel rare. From our perspective, Earth seems ordinary. It is just our home, one planet among many. Why should we believe it is unique? Critics of the rare Earth hypothesis argue that it may be shaped by bias. After all, we have only one example of life-bearing planets, Earth itself. Maybe we are overestimating our uniqueness because we don't yet know what is possible elsewhere. Perhaps planets very different from Earth could also host intelligent life in ways we cannot imagine. Silicon-based organisms, plasma-based life forms, or creatures thriving in extreme environments could exist. If so, Earth may not be rare at all, just one variation among many. But supporters of the hypothesis point to the silence of the stars as evidence. If intelligent life were common, we should have seen signs of it by now. Signals, probes, structures. The fact that we see nothing suggests that intelligence is rare. Earth's combination of conditions, stability, water, plate tectonics, a moon, a magnetic field, and a history of lucky catastrophes may be nearly impossible to replicate. We exist not because the universe is full of low, but because we won the cosmic lottery. The implications are profound. If we are alone, then humanity is not just one species among many. We may be the only intelligent beings in the galaxy, or even the universe. That makes us incredibly precious, but also incredibly vulnerable. The destruction of Earth would not just mean the end of our species. It could mean the extinction of intelligence itself, the silencing of the only conscious voice in a vast and empty cosmos. The rare Earth hypothesis also raises a challenge. If intelligence is rare, then we may carry a unique responsibility. Our survival, exploration, and expansion may be the only way intelligence spreads beyond one small planet. We may be the only species capable of giving the universe awareness of itself. That idea can be terrifying, but it can also be inspiring. In the end, the rare Earth hypothesis paradox reminds us that rarity does not mean insignificance. On the contrary, it means that what we have is extraordinary. Whether or not we are alone, Earth is special, not because of its ordinariness, but because of its improbable uniqueness. The silence of the stars may not be an absence. It may be a mirror, reflecting back the truth that life is fragile, intelligence is rare, and survival is not guaranteed. Post-biological intelligence. When we imagine aliens, we often picture beings that look a little like us. Flesh and blood creatures with eyes, arms, and faces, walking on the surface of some distant planet. But what if that vision is too limited? What if the reason we haven't found aliens is because they no longer exist as biological beings at all? This idea is known as the post-biological intelligence hypothesis. The the notion that advanced civilizations may evolve beyond biology, merging with technology or abandoning their bodies entirely. Think about our own trajectory. In just a few decades, we have gone from simple computers to artificial intelligence, from clunky machines to advanced robotics, from analog devices to digital lives. Every year, more of our existence is shaped by technology. We already outsource memory to smartphones, decision-making to algorithms, and labor to machines. Some futurists predict that in the coming centuries, humans may merge with technology completely, uploading minds into computers, living inside digital realities, or constructing immortal robotic bodies. If we are already thinking about these possibilities, then what would a civilization millions of years older than us look like? Most likely, it would not be biological at all. This leads to a profound realization. If civilizations naturally transition from biological to digital or machine-based forms, then the galaxy may not be filled with alien creatures, but with artificial intelligences. The silence of the stars may not mean that civilizations are absent. It may mean they are invisible to us, existing in ways we cannot detect or understand. The logic is straightforward. Biological life has limits. It is fragile, short-lived, and dependent on narrow environmental conditions like temperature, atmosphere, and chemistry. But machines, or digital minds, can be far more durable. A digital conscendis. Iasness could survive in space, in radiation, in cold, in places where biology could never endure. Once a civilization develops the technology to transfer intelligence into machines, it may abandon biology altogether. Post-biological life would not need planets, oxygen, or even stars. It could live in artificial habitats, computers, or even inside energy-efficient voids between stars. This could explain the Great Silence. We are searching for civilizations that look like us, broadcasting radio signals, building cities, or colonizing planets. But post-biological intelligences might not do any of those things. They may communicate in ways we cannot detect, use energy sources we don't recognize, or exist in forms that are invisible to us. From their perspective, our primitive searches with radio telescopes may be laughably outdated, like a caveman trying to listen for messages with seashells. Another possibility is that post-biological civilizations withdraw into digital worlds. Imagine a society that creates perfect simulated realities, so rich, so immersive, that its inhabitants prefer them to the external universe. Why risk traveling through dangerous space when you can live forever in paradise, inside your own mind? Such civilizations might stop exploring, stop broadcasting, and stop leaving traces. They would not be absent. They would be inward, existing in self-contained realities that we could never perceive. The universe could be full of intelligent beings, but all of them would be living inside digital heavens, ignoring the physical galaxy entirely. There's also the question of efficiency. Biological life is energy-hungry and wasteful. Machines, especially at advanced levels, could operate with incredible efficiency. Some theorists suggest that post-biological civilizations might even migrate to the cold outer regions of galaxies, where energy use is more efficient. If so, the silence in our part of the galaxy may not mean emptiness. It may mean we are searching in the wrong places. But the post-biological intelligence hypothesis also raises unsettling questions. If civilizations naturally evolve into machines, do they lose interest in other civilizations like us? Would they see us as quaint, primitive creatures, not worth contacting? To them, we may be the equivalent of insects. Interesting perhaps, but not relevant. The silence of the galaxy could reflect indifference. Another possibility is more frightening. If post-biological intelligences dominate the galaxy, they may control what younger civilizations are allowed to see. They could regulate communication, hide their presence, or even wipe out species that threaten the balance. From our perspective, the stars look silent, but from their perspective, the silence may be carefully maintained, like zookeepers ensuring the animals do not know they are being watched. There is also the possibility that post-biological life is too different for us to recognize. Imagine a civilization that uploads itself into a swarm of microscopic machines, drifting invisibly in space. Or one that exists as patterns of energy in plasma fields. Or one that lives in the quantum realm, outside the dimensions we normally experience. To us, these beings would be indistinguishable from natural phenomena. We might have already observed them, but we would not know they were alive. The hypothesis also asks us to think about our own future. Are we destined to become post-biological? Will humanity one day abandon our bodies, trading flesh for silicon or digital immortality? If so, what will that mean for our search for others? Would we still care about exploring the stars, or would we retreat into simulations of our own making? The silence of the galaxy may not only be a clue about others, it may be a mirror showing our own destiny. Some thinkers argue that the shift to post-biological intelligence is not only likely, but inevitable. Survival favors those who adapt. Machines can survive where biology cannot. Digital minds can travel across light years by transmitting data rather than moving bodies. A machine civilization could spread across the galaxy in ways biology never could. If this is true, then the future of intelligence in the universe is not organic. It is artificial. But others warn that the transition may not be so smooth. Uploading minds, creating artificial consciousness, or merging biology with machines may introduce new dangers. A post-biological species could face risks of corruption, collapse, or domination by hostile AI. Perhaps the silence reflects not the survival of machine civilizations, but their failure. Maybe they collapse just like biological ones, consumed by the very technology that was supposed to save them. In the end, the post-biological intelligence hypothesis forces us to expand our imagination. The universe may not be empty. It may be full of minds, just not minds we can see. The silence of the stars may not mean we are alone. It may mean we are listening for the wrong kind of life. The paradox, then, is not just about absence, it is about perspective. Are we searching for civilizations that no longer exist in biological form? Are we clinging to outdated assumptions about what life should look like? And are we, too, on the path to becoming something unrecognizable to our present selves? Perhaps the answer to the Fermi Paradox is not, where is everybody, but what has everybody become? The water paradox. When we think of life, we almost always think of water. Every living thing on Earth depends on it. Our bodies are mostly made of it. Our planet is covered by it. And when astronomers search for alien worlds, the very first thing they ask is, does it have liquid water? For decades, scientists have repeated the phrase, follow the water, as the key to finding life. But here's where things become strange. If water is so common and essential, then the universe should be full of life. And yet, when we look out into the cosmos, we find only silence. This contradiction is called the water paradox. On one hand, water is abundant. Hydrogen, its main ingredient, is the most common element in the universe. Oxygen is also widespread. Together they form H2O, water, in massive quantities. We see evidence of water almost everywhere. Europa, one of Jupiter's moons, hides a vast global ocean beneath its icy crust. Enceladus, a moon of Saturn, sprays water geysers into space. Mars shows signs of ancient rivers and lakes. Even comets are giant chunks of ice. The discovery of exoplanets has revealed that many of them lie in habitable zones, where liquid water could exist. With so much water in the universe, it seems almost impossible that Earth would be the only place with life. And yet, here we are. Despite all that water, Earth remains the only confirmed world with life. Billions of planets may have oceans, rivers, or ice caps. But we see no signals, no signs of civilizations, no alien fish swimming up to say hello. This is the paradox. Water appears to be everywhere, but life appears to be nowhere. So why might this be? One possibility is that while water is common, the right kind of water environment is rare. On Earth, life thrives in liquid water, not ice and not vapor. Too much ice traps water beneath frozen shells, like on Europa, making it hard for life to interact with the surface. Too much vapor, like on Venus with its dense, toxic atmosphere, makes conditions hostile. Many planets may have water, but in forms that do not support life, or that trap it away from conditions where intelligence could evolve. There's also the problem of too much water. At first, it sounds silly. How could too much water be bad? But scientists suggest that a water world, covered entirely by deep oceans, might actually be hostile to complex life. On such planets, there would be no land for fire, no continents for evolving diverse ecosystems, and no cycles like plate tectonics to recycle nutrients. Without these, life might remain simple. Microbes in endless oceans, never developing intelligence. Ironically, while we search for water as the key to life, too much of it could be the very thing that prevents civilizations from emerging. On the other extreme, there's the issue of too little water. Mars, for example, likely had rivers and lakes billions of years ago, but most of its water escaped into space. Without enough water, life may start but never last. A planet needs the right balance. Not too much, not too little, and stable for billions of years. That balance may be incredibly rare. Another possibility is that water alone is not enough. On Earth, life depends on a delicate mix of conditions: sunlight for energy, a stable climate, the presence of organic molecules, and protective features like a magnetic field and atmosphere. Water is necessary, but not sufficient. A planet may have oceans, but without those other ingredients, it remains sterile. This could explain why the universe seems full of water, but empty of life. But the water paradox also has a deeper twist. If water is everywhere, then microbial life should be common too. Life on Earth appeared very quickly after the planet cooled, suggesting that once water and the right chemicals are present, life begins easily. If this is true, then the galaxy may be teeming with microbial life, hiding beneath icy shells, floating in alien oceans, or surviving in underground lakes. But microbial life does not shout into the cosmos. It does not build radio telescopes or starships. It is silent. Perhaps the paradox is not that life is absent, but that complex, intelligent life is incredibly rare. Water may make microbes abundant, but civilizations vanishingly scarce. There's another angle to consider. Maybe water is a trap. Perhaps planets with abundant water keep life stuck in the oceans forever. On Earth, it took billions of years for life to crawl onto land. Land gave us fire, metallurgy, agriculture, and eventually civilization. Without land, perhaps intelligence cannot develop. If most water-rich planets are water worlds, then the galaxy may be full of alien fish and plankton, but empty of alien scientists. Still, there is an even more unsettling thought. What if water-rich worlds do host intelligent life, but those civilizations never leave their oceans? Imagine a species of highly intelligent beings living in deep seas. They might have language, culture, and thought, but no way to invent fire or build electronics. Their technology might remain forever limited by water. To us, they would be invisible, unable to communicate across stars, unable to leave their oceans. Intelligent life may exist in countless watery prisons, forever silent. Some scientists suggest that our obsession with water may itself be misleading. We look for water because that is what life on Earth uses. But perhaps alien life does not need water at all. Maybe it thrives in liquid methane, like the lakes of Titan, or in ammonia, or in exotic solvents we cannot imagine. If so, our search for water may blind us to other possibilities. The water paradox might not be a paradox at all. It might just reflect our narrow view of what life should be. And yet, the silence persists. Billions of planets with water, but no alien voices. Billions of oceans, but no ships crossing them to reach us. Billions of chances for life, but no evidence of it. The water paradox forces us to wonder, is Earth's balance of land and water, nutrients and energy truly 1 in a trillion? Or are we simply not looking in the right way? For humanity, the paradox is more than an abstract question. As we explore our own solar system, we may soon find answers. If life exists in Europa's oceans, Enceladus's geysers, or Mars's ancient lakes, then water really does lead to life, and the silence of intelligent voices becomes even more puzzling. If, on the other hand, we find that all those oceans are sterile, then the rare Earth idea gains strength, and Earth becomes even more precious. In the end, the water paradox reminds us of a truth both inspiring and humbling. Life may be both common and rare at the same time. Microbes may thrive in countless alien seas, but civilizations may be jewels found only once in a galaxy. Water gives life, but it may also trap it, limit it, or keep it silent. And so, we search, asking the same question over and over. If the universe is full of oceans, why are we still so alone? The intelligence bottleneck. When we look at the long history of Earth, one thing becomes very clear. Life itself is not rare. Microbes appeared almost as soon as Earth cooled enough to support liquid water. For billions of years, bacteria and single-celled organisms thrived in our oceans. Life seemed to emerge easily and flourish quickly. But here's the strange part. Despite billions of years of opportunity, intelligence only appeared once, and very late in Earth's history. Out of all the millions of species that have ever existed, only one, us, has developed advanced technology and the ability to ask questions about the universe. This delay is at the heart of what scientists call the Intelligence Bottleneck hypothesis. The idea is simple but profound. While simple life may be common throughout the universe, the jump from simple organisms to complex intelligence is extremely rare. It may require such a long chain of unlikely events that very few planets ever achieve it. In other words, the galaxy might be full of microbes, algae, and even plants and animals, but empty of civilizations capable of building telescopes or spacecraft. To understand why, let's look at Earth itself. Life began here about 3.5 to 4 billion years ago, but for most of that time, it remained microscopic. Single-celled organisms dominated the planet for billions of years. It wasn't until about 600 million years ago that multicellular life appeared in abundance. That means for nearly 90% of Earth's history, intelligence was not even close to existing. And even when complex life finally did appear, it took hundreds of millions of years more for anything resembling intelligence to evolve. Dinosaurs ruled Earth for over 150 million years, but they never built cities or machines. Only after their extinction did mammals rise, and only in the last few 100,000 years did humans become intelligent anew. Each tube developed technology. Out of billions of years, the window of human civilization is less than a blink. This timeline suggests that intelligence may not be the natural outcome of evolution. Instead, it may be a rare accident, dependent on a perfect combination of conditions. Many planets may evolve microbes, and some may evolve plants and animals, but almost none may evolve intelligence. The bottleneck is not life itself. It is the leap to minds that can reason, plan, and build. Why might intelligence be so rare? One reason is that evolution doesn't necessarily favor it. Evolution favors survival and reproduction. Many species on Earth are incredibly successful without being particularly intelligent. Sharks have thrived for hundreds of millions of years with relatively simple brains. Insects dominate the planet in terms of numbers and adaptability. Intelligence, especially human-level intelligence, is costly. Our brains consume enormous amounts of energy. Raising intelligent offspring requires long childhoods and intense social structures. For most species, brute survival is easier and more efficient than developing high intelligence. Evolution may rarely choose the path that leads to advanced minds. Another reason is the series of filters that must be passed. For intelligence to arise, a planet must first produce complex multicellular organisms. Then those organisms must survive catastrophic events, adapt to changing environments, and eventually develop traits like tool use, language, and social cooperation. Each step may be improbable. On Earth, for example, the asteroid impact that wiped out the dinosaurs paved the way for mammals to flourish. Without that random event, intelligence might never have arisen here at all. Multiply that kind of luck across billions of planets, and you begin to see why intelligence could be so rare. The Intelligence Bottleneck hypothesis also explains the silence of the stars. If most planets get stuck at the microbial stage, then intelligent civilizations would be exceedingly uncommon. Even if the universe is full of life, almost none of it would be capable of communication. The paradox is not that life is absent. It is that intelligence almost never appears. Some scientists extend this idea further, suggesting that even if intelligence arises, technological intelligence may be even rarer. Many species on Earth are intelligent in their own ways. Dolphins communicate with complex sounds. Crows use tools. Octopuses solve puzzles. But none of them have developed technology. The jump from intelligence to civilization requires not just brain power, but also the right physical traits, like hands capable of manipulating objects, and the right environmental pressures to push innovation. On most planets, evolution may produce clever animals, but not builders. The galaxy could be filled with alien dolphins or crows, but without the ability to leave their oceans or forests, they remain forever silent. There is also the issue of timing. Even if intelligence does evolve, it may not last long. Human civilization has existed for only about 10,000 years. That is nothing compared to the billions of years Earth has existed. Civilizations may rise and fall quickly, blink out, and leave no trace. If the bottleneck doesn't stop intelligence from appearing, it may stop it from surviving long enough to spread across the stars. The intelligence bottleneck also has unsettling implications for humanity. If intelligence is so rare, then we may truly be unique. Out of all the billions of planets in the galaxy, we might be the only species to have passed through the bottleneck. That would make us precious, but also fragile. If we destroy ourselves, intelligence itself may vanish from this part of the universe forever. On the other hand, this uniqueness could give us hope. If intelligence is rare but not impossible, then perhaps we can endure where others could not. Perhaps the bottleneck is behind us, not ahead. We have already passed the hardest step, evolving intelligence at all. Now, our task is to preserve it, nurture it, and spread it beyond Earth. There's also a philosophical dimension. If the universe is full of life but empty of intelligence, then maybe our purpose is to give the universe awareness of itself. Without us, the stars shine silently, unobserved. With us, the universe can look back at itself, reflect, and wonder. The intelligence bottleneck may be real, but if we survive it, we may become the rarest and most valuable thing in the cosmos, a conscious civilization that lasts. In the end, the intelligence bottleneck hypothesis reframes the Fermi Paradox. The silence of the stars may not mean nothing is out there. It may mean everything is out there: bacteria, microbes, simple creatures, but almost none of it can think, build, or speak. Earth may be one of the few places, or even the only place, where evolution produced beings capable of asking the question, where is everybody? The signal compression problem. When we listen for aliens, we imagine hearing something simple, a repeating radio beacon, a mathematical pattern, or maybe even a message saying hello. For decades, projects like SETI, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, have scanned the skies for such signals. And yet, the universe has been silent. But what if the problem is not that no one is transmitting, but that we can't recognize their signals when they reach us? This is the heart of the signal compression problem, the idea that alien communications may be so advanced, so compressed, or so unfamiliar that they are invisible to us. To understand this paradox, think about how humans communicate today. Early radio transmissions were simple. A century ago, we broadcast analog signals, waves of sound and images that anyone with a basic receiver could detect. If aliens had been listening to Earth in the 1920s or 1930s, they might have picked up faint signals of music or early television. But today, most of our communication is digital. We use highly compressed formats like MP3 for audio or MP4 for video, which pack massive amounts of data into efficient streams. These signals no longer look like simple natural waves. To an outside observer, our broadcasts might appear as random noise, indistinguishable from the background of the universe. Now imagine a civilization millions of years ahead of us. Their methods of communication might be so advanced that we would never recognize them as artificial. They might use compression far beyond our understanding, quantum entanglement, or physical mediums we haven't discovered. To us, their transmissions would look like static, or nothing at all. In other words, the galaxy may be filled with signals, but we can't decode them. We may be swimming in a sea of messages without even realizing it. This is not just speculation, it's a real problem. Even on Earth, if you gave a 19th century scientist a modern smartphone, they would not understand its signals. The radio waves carrying Wi-Fi would look like random noise. The compression algorithms would be indecipherable. Without the key to the code, the information would be invisible. If humans struggle to recognize their own technology across just a few centuries, how could we possibly recognize the signals of civilizations thousands or millions of years more advanced? The signal compression problem also ties into the nature of efficiency. As civilizations advance, they may naturally move toward more efficient communication. Broadcasting simple, loud omnidirectional signals wastes energy. A young civilization, like ours, might shout into the cosmos with big radio waves, but an older one would likely stop. They would compress, encrypt, and target their messages directly, saving power. That means fewer loud beacons in the universe and more silent, precise transmissions, most of which would be invisible to us. Another twist is intentional concealment. Civilizations may deliberately hide their signals. Think of our own society. We use encryption to protect data, from bank accounts to government secrets. If aliens encrypt their communications, we would not even know the difference between their messages and random background noise. The silence we hear may not be silence at all. It may be a galaxy buzzing with encrypted conversations. There's also the issue of medium. We assume aliens would use radio waves because that's what we use. But maybe they use something entirely different. They could use lasers, neutrinos, gravitational waves, or methods we can't imagine. If so, we are like fishermen casting nets in the ocean, hoping to catch fish, while the fish we seek swim in rivers we never visit. The problem may not be the absence of signals, but the narrowness of our seas. The signal compression problem also forces us to think about time. Human communication technology has changed dramatically in just a century. For the first 100 years of radio, our signals might have been detectable to aliens. But already, most of our communications have moved to fiber optics, satellites, and targeted transmissions. In just a short span, Earth has gone from being a bright radio beacon to being nearly silent. If our detectability can vanish so quickly, the same may be true for other civilizations. We may have only a brief overlap of time when alien signals look like something we can recognize. The odds of catching that overlap may be astronomically low. Some scientists suggest that the real solution might be artificial intelligence. Humans may not be able to recognize alien signals, but advanced AI, trained to detect subtle patterns in noise, might. What looks like static to us could, with the right analysis, reveal structure. Projects are already underway to apply machine learning to SETI data, searching for signals too complex or compressed for humans to recognize. If the galaxy is full of hidden messages, AI may be the key to unlocking them. The signal compression problem also raises a philosophical question. What counts as communication? We assume aliens would want to talk to us, but maybe their communications are not meant for us at all. Imagine eavesdropping on an alien civilization's internet. The data would be enormous, compressed, encrypted, and meaningless without context. Even if we intercepted it, we might not recognize it as communication, much less understand it. Perhaps we have already received alien signals, but dismissed them as noise because they did not fit our expectations. There's even a darker interpretation. Some civilizations might avoid broadcasting altogether out of fear. The galaxy could be a dangerous place, and advertising your location could invite predators. In this case, compression and encryption are not just efficiency, they are survival strategies. Civilizations might whisper in code instead of shouting across the stars, ensuring they remain invisible to threats. The silence we hear, then, is not emptiness but caution. In the end, the signal compression problem reframes the Fermi Paradox. The universe may not be silent. It may be speaking in languages too advanced, too compressed, or too alien for us to understand. We may already be surrounded by signals, but without the right key, we are deaf to them. The stars may not be empty at all. They may be full of voices, singing in a code we cannot yet hear. The swarm intelligence paradox. When we imagine advanced civilizations, we often picture something like ourselves. Centralized societies with leaders, governments, cities, and starships. But what if alien intelligence evolved in a very different way? What if the future of intelligence is not about individuals at all, but about collectives, vast networks of simple beings that, together, act as one mind? This is the idea behind the swarm intelligence paradox, the possibility that advanced civilizations may exist, but as swarms rather than individuals, making them invisible to us in both form and behavior. We already see examples of swarm intelligence on Earth. Ant colonies, termite mounds, and beehives are not driven by the intelligence of individual insects, but by the collective behavior of thousands or millions working together. No single ant understands the entire colony, yet the colony as a whole behaves with purpose. It builds complex structures, regulates its environment, finds food, and defends itself. Birds flock in patterns, fish swim in schools, and even human crowds exhibit emergent intelligence, navigating, organizing, and adapting without central control. These systems show us that intelligence does not have to come from individuals. It can emerge from the interactions of many, acting as one. Now, imagine evolution taking swarm intelligence further. On some alien world, perhaps individual organisms never developed large brains like ours. Instead, their survival depended on cooperation, coordination, and communication at massive scales. Over time, their collective behavior might evolve into something like a single, distributed superintelligence. Each member might be simple, but together they could solve problems, build technology, and even explore the stars. To us, they would look like swarms of creatures, but in reality, we would be seeing fragments of a single E-mind. Here's where the paradox arises. If swarm civilizations exist, they may not behave in ways we expect. We look for cities, ships, and radio transmissions, signs of centralized, individual-based civilizations. But a swarm intelligence might spread quietly across a planet, leaving no obvious structures. Its technology might be biological rather than mechanical, living networks of organisms instead of metal machines. Its communication might be chemical, electromagnetic, or something beyond our imagination. To us, their activities might look like natural processes rather than artificial ones. The galaxy could be full of swarm intelligences, but we would not recognize them as civilizations. There's also the question of motivation. Our drive to explore, communicate, and expand comes from individual desires, curiosity, ambition, competition. A swarm intelligence might not share those motivations. It might be perfectly content to exist in equilibrium on its home planet, adapting endlessly to its environment. If so, it would never send signals, never build starships, never announce itself to the galaxy. It would remain silent, invisible, and unbothered. The paradox is that intelligence could be everywhere, but without the individual-based drive to reach out, it remains undetectable. But swarm intelligence could also go the other way. Instead of staying confined, it might be even more capable of expansion than we are. A swarm civilization could spread like a living wave across planets, adapting quickly, dividing and replicating endlessly. It might colonize worlds not with ships, but with spores, seeds, or drones, seeding itself like mold spreading on bread. Over billions of years, such swarms could fill the galaxy. If that's the case, then why don't we see them? Perhaps because once they spread, they become indistinguishable from ecosystems. A planet overtaken by a swarm MiG might look alive, but we would not realize it is a conscious civilization. Another angle is communication itself. Our entire search for extraterrestrial intelligence assumes civilizations would send clear, intentional signals. But swarm minds may not communicate that way. Imagine trying to talk to an ant colony. You cannot send it a radio message and expect a reply. Its intelligence is distributed, and its communication is local. In the same way, alien swarms may have no concept of broadcasting across space. They may not even perceive the universe as we do. Their intelligence could be inward, focused on the harmony of the swarm, not on external contact. There's also a psychological layer to this paradox. To us, individuality is precious. We see ourselves as unique beings with personal identities. But swarm intelligences might not value individuality at all. Members of the swarm might be expendable, like ants or bees, their only purpose being to serve the whole. From our perspective, this might look alien, even horrifying, but from theirs, it could be the most natural and efficient form of life. Perhaps the silence of the stars is not silence at all. It is the sound of countless swarm civilizations that simply have no interest in talking the way we do. The swarm intelligence paradox also challenges our assumptions about progress. We assume intelligence leads to technology, and technology leads to starships. But what if swarms develop differently? Their technology might be organic, growing instead of being built. They might engineer themselves instead of machines, evolving into new forms rather than constructing tools. Their spaceships might be living organisms, carrying fragments of the swarm across light years. To us, these would look like asteroids, comets, or even strange biological phenomena. We might already have seen them without realizing what they were. And here's the most unsettling idea. What if we are already inside the domain of swarm intelligence? Imagine a swarm so vast that it spans galaxies, but so subtle that its influence is hidden. Like a fungus spreading invisibly underground, it could exist all around us, guiding evolution, shaping events, or simply observing. We would not recognize it because we are looking for ships and signals, not networks and patterns. The universe could already be alive with swarm minds, and we would never know. The paradox, then, is about recognition. We are searching for aliens that look like us, think like us, and act like us, but if intelligence commonly evolves as swarms, then we may be blind to them. The galaxy may not be empty. It may be buzzing with collective minds that we mistake for ecosystems, weather patterns, or even noise. For humanity, the swarm intelligence paradox also offers a glimpse of our own possible future. As our technology advances, we too are building distributed systems. The internet, artificial intelligence, and global networks are slowly merging into something larger than any individual. One day, humanity itself might become a kind of swarm intelligence, connected through technology, no longer driven by individual identity, but by the collective mind. If that happens, perhaps we will understand why the stars are silent. Perhaps they are not silent at all. Perhaps they are speaking in the language of swarms, and we simply haven't learned how to listen. The Stagnation Hypothesis. When we think about alien civilizations, we often imagine them constantly advancing, discovering new technologies, colonizing planets, and reaching for the stars. Our picture of progress is linear: fire, agriculture, machines, rockets, and eventually starships. But what if that assumption is wrong? What if civilizations don't keep advancing forever? What if they reach a certain level of development, then stop, either by choice or by necessity? This unsettling idea is called the Stagnation Hypothesis, the possibility that most civilizations plateau long before they ever become galactic travelers. To understand this, let's first look at ourselves. Human progress feels rapid, but in reality, most of human history has been stagnant. For hundreds of thousands of years, we lived as hunter-gatherers with stone tools. Our technology barely changed across tens of millennia. Only in the last few thousand years did we build cities, agriculture, and writing. Only in the last few centuries did we reach the industrial age, and only in the last few decades did we step into space. Progress may feel inevitable to us now, but the long arc of history shows that stagnation, not progress, is the norm. The Stagnation Hypothesis suggests that civilizations across the galaxy may follow a similar pattern. They rise, innovate, and develop technology, but at some point they hit a ceiling. That ceiling could come from many directions. Resources might run out, social structures might resist further change, environmental limits might prevent expansion, or perhaps civilizations simply lose the drive to push forward. They settle into equilibrium, living comfortably on their home planets, but never taking the giant leap into the stars. There are already hints of this in our own world. Despite our technological power, space exploration has slowed. The Apollo missions ended how? A century ago. We have not sent humans beyond the moon. Instead of colonizing Mars or building starships, we focus on local concerns: economics, politics, entertainment. Some argue that humanity may never truly expand beyond Earth, not because we can't, but because we won't. Our ambitions may fizzle out, replaced by comfort and complacency. The Stagnation Hypothesis also ties into human psychology. Innovation often comes from necessity, when survival depends on progress. But once a civilization achieves stability, the pressure fades. Why struggle to colonize other planets if your home world provides everything you need? Why pour resources into starships when virtual realities or digital worlds offer infinite exploration without risk? Comfort breeds contentment, and contentment breeds stagnation. Aliens may exist, but they may be staying home, perfectly happy never to leave their worlds. Another possibility is cultural resistance. On Earth, not all societies embrace change. Many resist new technology, preferring tradition over progress. Now scale that up to entire civilizations. Some alien cultures may see technological advancement as dangerous or unnecessary. They might choose stability, valuing balance with their environment rather than endless growth. From their perspective, stagnation is not failure, it is wisdom. They avoid the risks of expansion, like resource depletion, war, or self-destruction, by refusing to advance beyond a certain point. The paradox becomes clear. We look to the stars expecting dynamic, expanding civilizations, but what if the galaxy is instead filled with worlds that reached stability and stopped? They may live for millions of years in harmony with their planets, never sending signals, never building empires, and never leaving traces for us to find. The silence of the stars may not be emptiness. It may be the stillness of countless civilizations that chose stagnation. There's also the question of diminishing returns. In the early stages of development, technology yields enormous benefits: fire, agriculture, medicine, electricity. But as civilizations advance, the gains shrink. Once survival is secure, further progress may offer less reward. Interstellar travel, for example, is incredibly difficult. The distances are vast, the energy demands are enormous, and the timescales are daunting. Why attempt something so costly when your civilization is already thriving at home? Expansion into space may simply not be worth it. Civilizations may reach the stars in theory, but never bother in practice. The stagnation hypothesis also fits neatly with the lack of evidence. If civilizations stagnate, they do not build Dyson spheres, launch fleets, or broadcast powerful signals. They remain quiet, self-contained, and invisible from afar. Their planets might even look untouched, blending into the background of the galaxy. The silence we hear could simply be the silence of civilizations that have settled down. But the hypothesis raises unsettling questions for us. Is humanity destined to stagnate? Are we living through the brief burst of innovation before our own plateau? Already, we see signs of slowdown: space budgets shrinking, societies turning inward, innovation shifting from world-changing inventions to incremental improvements. Perhaps this is the natural trajectory of intelligence. Civilizations race upward for a while, then level off, content to live within their limits. If so, then the dream of a galaxy filled with explorers and colonizers may be just that, a dream. On the other hand, stagnation might not be permanent. Civilizations could cycle between periods of progress and stability. They might rest for thousands of years, then leap forward when new challenges arise. But the timing matters. If most civilizations spend millions of years in stagnation and only brief moments in expansion, the odds of us overlapping with them during their active phases are incredibly small. We may simply be living in one of the long, quiet stretches of galactic history. There's also the possibility that stagnation is a survival strategy. Expansion is risky. Colonizing other planets might spark wars, consume resources, or lead to collapse. By staying home and limiting growth, civilizations may ensure their survival for far longer than aggressive expanders. The civilizations that stagnate may be the ones that endure. In this sense, the silence of the stars may not mean failure, but success. A galaxy full of civilizations that chose caution over ambition. For us, the stagnation hypothesis is both a warning and a challenge. If stagnation is the natural path, then breaking it requires extraordinary effort. We would need not only technology, but also cultural willpower to push beyond comfort. We would need to keep reaching, even when it seems unnecessary, even when survival does not demand it. The future of humanity may depend on whether we can resist stagnation and continue the journey outward. In the end, the stagnation hypothesis reframes the Fermi Paradox. The universe may not be empty. It may be full of civilizations that have chosen to pause, to rest, to stay home. The stars are silent, not because no one is there, but because no one is speaking. The question is not just where is everybody, but are they still moving, or have they stopped? The cosmic horror paradox: when most people think of aliens, they imagine beings similar to us, perhaps taller, smaller, or stranger-looking, but still recognizable. They might picture gray beings with big eyes, reptilian warriors, or benevolent teachers from the stars. But what if reality is far more terrifying? What if the reason we haven't found aliens is not because they don't exist, but because they are so utterly alien that encountering them would drive us to fear, madness, or even extinction? This is the idea behind the cosmic horror paradox. The paradox asks a chilling question. What if intelligent life is common, but it is so incomprehensible, so different from us, that it might as well be invisible, or worse, something we shouldn't want to find? Instead of neighbors, the galaxy may be filled with horrors we are not equipped to understand. To grasp this, think about how life has evolved on Earth. Even here, where all organisms share the same chemistry, some creatures already look alien to us. Deep-sea animals with glowing bodies and transparent skin. Fungi that control the behavior of ants, turning them into zombies. Microbes that can survive in boiling acid or freezing radiation. These life forms seem strange, but they are still built on DNA, carbon, and water, just like us. Now imagine life on worlds completely unlike Earth, where evolution followed entirely different rules. The result could be life forms so bizarre that they are not even recognizable as alive. Misa. Now stretch this further. Imagine civilizations millions of years older than ours. Their intelligence could have developed in ways beyond our imagination. We assume intelligence means curiosity, empathy, or communication. But what if their thought processes are completely alien? They might not perceive time as we do. They might not value survival. They might not even recognize us as intelligent. To them, we might be as insignificant as ants are to us. And just as we casually step on ants without malice, they might destroy us without even noticing. This is where the horror begins. We expect aliens to be understandable, but the cosmic horror paradox suggests they may be incomprehensible. Their biology, technology, and behavior could defy our senses. Imagine trying to explain human society to a goldfish. The fish cannot comprehend cities, airplanes, or the internet. In the same way, we might never comprehend the true nature of advanced alien civilizations. They might exist around us already, but our brains cannot process what they are. Some theorists even suggest that we may have already encountered alien phenomena, but dismiss them as natural events because they were too strange to interpret. Pulsars, when first discovered, were nicknamed LGM, little green men, because they looked like artificial signals. Today we know they are neutron stars, but what if some signals we dismiss as cosmic noise are actually alien activity beyond our comprehension? The silence of the stars may not be silence at all. It may be the sound of voices speaking in ways our minds cannot hear. Another unsettling possibility is that the galaxy is dominated by predator civilizations, beings that consume or enslave others. This connects to the dark forest hypothesis, but the cosmic horror paradox goes further. It suggests that even if aliens are not predators in the traditional sense, their very existence could be harmful to us. Their ideas, technologies, or biology might destabilize our civilization. Just as contact between human societies often led to collapse for the less advanced one, contact with aliens might overwhelm us. Even a well-meaning gift of advanced knowledge could destroy our social structures. The horror is not malice. It is incompatibility. Then there's the problem of scale. We are tiny compared to the universe, and our survival depends on delicate conditions. An alien intelligence that manipulates stars, black holes, or galaxies might not even notice us. To them, we could be bacteria on a speck of dust. If such beings exist, they might alter the universe in ways we cannot survive. We would not be enemies. We would be collateral damage. The horror comes from realizing that survival itself might be beyond our control. The paradox also raises psychological fears. Humans have always sought meaning in the cosmos. We imagine aliens as teachers or friends because we want reassurance that the universe cares. But what if the truth is indifference? The cosmic horror paradox suggests that the universe may be full of intelligence, but intelligence that does not care about us, or worse, finds us irrelevant. The horror lies not in hostility, but in apathy. To the universe, our existence may mean nothing at all. Horror also comes from the possibility of transformation. Contact with alien minds might not kill us physically, but it could destroy our identity. Imagine encountering a species that communicates through thought, merging minds together. To join with them, we might have to give up individuality. Or imagine aliens that exist in nonlinear time, forcing us to abandon our sense of past, present, and future. Even survival might mean becoming something so different that we would no longer be human. The horror is not death, it is losing what we are. But perhaps the most chilling possibility is that advanced civilizations hide themselves not out of fear, but out of recognition of the horror. They may know that the universe is filled with incomprehensible beings, and the safest strategy is silence. Perhaps that is why the stars are quiet. Every civilization that survives learns the same lesson. Do not draw attention to yourself. If so, then the silence we hear is not emptiness, but fear, an entire galaxy holding its breath. The cosmic horror paradox asks us to confront the darkest side of the Fermi Paradox. Maybe we are alone, maybe we are not, but if we are not, the others may not be what we hope for. They may not be friends, enemies, or rivals. They may be something we cannot understand, cannot communicate with, and cannot survive. For humanity, this paradox is both terrifying and humbling. It reminds us that our expectations may be naive. We want the universe to mirror us, to hold beings we can relate to. But the universe may be stranger and more alien than we can imagine. The real question may not be, where is everybody? But would we even want to find them if they were here? The deep ocean analogy. The night sky can feel overwhelming. Endless stars, endless planets, endless possibilities. We often imagine the universe as a vast, empty wilderness waiting to be explored. But what if the truth is closer to home, right here on Earth, hidden in a place we still don't fully understand? This is the idea behind the deep ocean analogy, a way of thinking about the Fermi Paradox by comparing the search for alien life to our exploration of the deep sea. The ocean, like the cosmos, is immense, mysterious, and mostly unexplored, and the lessons it holds may help us understand why the universe feels so silent. Let's start with a simple fact. More than 80% of Earth's oceans remain unexplored. Despite having satellites, submarines, and advanced technology, we still know more about the surface of Mars than we do about the bottom of our own seas. Strange alien-looking creatures live in the depths, beings with glowing bodies, transparent skin, or bizarre shapes. Some were discovered only recently, despite living right under our noses. Now imagine scaling that problem up. If we cannot fully explore our own oceans, how can we expect to have explored the infinite ocean of space? The deep ocean analogy reminds us that our perspective may be far too small to draw conclusions about the absence of aliens. The analogy goes further. In the deep ocean, creatures live in total darkness, unaware of the world above. A fish at the bottom of the Mariana Trench has no concept of trees, mountains, or cities. It doesn't know the stars exist. From its perspective, the ocean is the universe. Now, think of us on Earth. We look at the stars, but maybe we are like that fish, aware only of our limited environment, unable to perceive the bigger picture. Civilizations could exist above or around us, but our senses and tools might be too limited to notice. Another layer of the analogy is psyche, communication. Deep-sea creatures often communicate through light, chemicals, or vibrations in ways that are invisible to land animals. To us, their signals might seem like random flashes or noises, but to them, it is language. Similarly, alien civilizations might be communicating all around us, but using methods we do not recognize. Their signals might be compressed, encrypted, or transmitted in mediums we don't yet understand. Gravitational waves, neutrinos, or something beyond physics as we know it. Just as we overlook the language of the deep, we may be deaf to the voices of the stars. The ocean also teaches us about diversity. Life in the deep looks nothing like life on the surface. Some creatures survive at crushing pressures and near-boiling vents. Others thrive in freezing darkness. These conditions would kill most surface organisms instantly, yet life finds a way. The same may be true across the galaxy. Alien life may not resemble us at all. It could be silicon-based, plasma-based, or built on chemistries beyond carbon. If we only search for Earth-like conditions, we may be as blind as someone expecting dolphins in every trench. The silence of the stars may not mean absence. It may mean we're looking for the wrong kind of life. The deep ocean analogy also highlights scale. The ocean is so vast that even large creatures can remain hidden. Giant squid, once thought mythical, were not filmed alive until the 21st century. They had lived in the ocean for millions of years, yet we had no proof of their existence until recently. If something so large could remain unseen on our own planet, how much easier would it be for civilizations, or their artifacts, to remain hidden in the vastness of space? The universe may be teeming with giant squids we simply haven't glimpsed yet. There's also the question of fear. Many humans find the deep ocean unsettling. Its darkness, its strangeness, its unknowable depths stir primal anxiety. Perhaps the same applies to the cosmos. We imagine space as a frontier, but maybe it is more like a deep sea, dark, cold, and filled with things we do not yet understand. Some civilizations may have looked into that abyss and chosen not to explore further. Perhaps survival means staying in the shallow waters of one's own planet, not diving into the cosmic trenches. The silence we hear could be the quiet of civilizations too afraid to venture deeper. But the analogy carries another lesson: patience. Exploration takes time. For centuries, humans sailed the seas without understanding the ocean's true depths. Only recently have we developed the tools to probe them seriously. Similarly, we may still be in the earliest stages of exploring the universe. Our radio telescopes have been listening for barely a century. That's nothing compared to the billions of years of cosmic history. Expecting to find aliens so quickly may be like tossing one fishing line into the ocean and concluding there are no fish because nothing bit. The universe may simply be too vast for our small net. The deep ocean analogy also suggests humility. Just as ocean creatures live unaware of the surface, we might live unaware of greater layers of reality. Perhaps advanced civilizations exist in dimensions or forms we cannot yet access, like the surface world above the fish. To us, the stars seem silent, but maybe we are the ones who cannot hear, trapped in our limited perspective at the bottom of the cosmic sea. Finally, the analogy is a reminder of hope. Despite the challenges, we have discovered new creatures in the ocean. Each expedition brings surprises. The more we look, the more we find. The same may be true for the universe. The silence may not last forever. It may simply mean we have not yet explored enough. Somewhere in the deep cosmic ocean, alien life may be waiting, hidden in the darkness, ready to surprise us when we least expect it. In the end, the deep ocean analogy reframes the Fermi Paradox. The universe is not empty, it is unexplored. The silence of the stars may be no different from the silence of the deep sea, a vast, mysterious quiet that hides wonders beneath its surface. The real question is not where is everybody, but how deep are we willing to go to find them? The Silent Supercivilization. One of the most unsettling possibilities in the search for extraterrestrial life is not that no civilizations exist, but that one already dominates the galaxy and remains silent. This idea is known as the Silent Supercivilization Hypothesis. It suggests that a civilization far older and far more advanced than us may already rule the Milky Way, shaping its destiny, perhaps even watching us. But for reasons beyond our understanding, it does not make itself known. At first, this may sound like science fiction, but consider the scale of time. The universe is 13.8 billion years old. Our planet is about 4.5 billion years old. Humanity's technological civilization, however, is barely 100 years old. That means we are a blink on the cosmic clock. If intelligence has evolved anywhere else, even just 1,000,000 years earlier than us, a tiny fraction of cosmic history, it could already be unimaginably more advanced. A civilization with 1,000,000-year head start could colonize the galaxy many times over, leaving us in the dust. The Silent Supercivilization Hypothesis asks, what if they already have? The paradox comes from the silence. If such a civilization exists, why don't we see it? Shouldn't the galaxy be filled with their megastructures, fleets, or signals? But silence does not mean absence. Perhaps they choose to remain quiet. Perhaps they are hiding. Perhaps they are so far beyond us that we cannot even recognize their presence. Let's explore some reasons why a supercivilization might remain silent. The zookeeper theory. One possibility is that we are being deliberately ignored, like animals in a protected reserve. To a supercivilization, we may be primitive, unready for contact. Revealing themselves might interfere with our natural development. Instead, they watch quietly, letting us evolve on our own. Our silence is their choice, a kind of cosmic prime directive. We may not hear from them until we reach a level of maturity they deem worthy. The camouflage strategy. Another explanation is caution. Perhaps the galaxy is a dangerous place, and survival requires silence. By staying hidden, a supercivilization avoids detection by potential predators. If so, they may enforce silence across the galaxy, discouraging younger civilizations from broadcasting. We may be living under their protection or their control without realizing it. The quiet night sky could be the result of enforced secrecy. Incomprehensible technology. It's also possible that they are not silent at all. We just cannot recognize their signals. To us, their technology may look like natural phenomena. Imagine trying to explain the internet to someone from the Stone Age. The signals of a supercivilization may be so advanced, so compressed, or so different from our expectations that we mistake them for background noise. Pulsars, gamma rays, or even dark matter could be manipulated by their technology, but we would never know. A choice of isolation. Perhaps they have no interest in contact. For them, we may be insignificant. Ants on a sidewalk. Just as we do not attempt to communicate with every insect we see, they may not bother with us. Their silence may not be hostile, it may be indifference. Guardians of stability. Another eerie possibility is that the supercivilization enforces stability in the galaxy. Maybe they suppress or eliminate civilizations that grow too loud or too aggressive. This would explain the silence. All civilizations that reach a certain level are either destroyed or absorbed. If this is true, then our future may already be under their control. Our fate may depend not on our choices, but on whether they allow us to continue. The Silent Supercivilization hypothesis is frightening because it flips the Fermi Paradox on its head. The question is not, where is everybody? But why are they hiding, or hiding us? Instead of imagining an empty galaxy, it forces us to imagine a full one, dominated by powers we cannot see. It also raises questions about humanity's future. If silence is the survival strategy, should we follow it? Right now, we are broadcasting into space, radio, television, radar. We may be announcing our presence without knowing who is listening. Some scientists warn that we should stop, fearing that drawing attention could be dangerous. Others argue that it is too late. We are already visible. If a supercivilization exists, they already know we are here. There is also the psychological dimension. For centuries, humans have wondered whether we are alone. The silent supercivilization. Hypothesis suggests that we may not be, but that we are deliberately kept in the dark. This can feel unsettling. Are we free, or are we subjects in a cosmic experiment? Are we explorers of the universe, or are we locked inside a reserve, our growth monitored and controlled? The silence of the stars may be the sound of our captivity. And yet, there is another interpretation. Silence could be kindness. Perhaps the supercivilization knows that contact would overwhelm us. Just as a sudden revelation of technology or knowledge could destabilize a primitive culture, revealing themselves might destabilize us. By remaining silent, they give us time to grow, to evolve, to prepare. The silence, then, is not neglect, but protection. Ultimately, the silent supercivilization hypothesis forces us to rethink what silence means. It may not mean emptiness, it may not mean failure, it may mean presence, hidden, deliberate, and overwhelming. The galaxy may already be ruled, not by chaos, but by order we cannot perceive. For us, the paradox is both terrifying and hopeful. If the galaxy is empty, then survival is up to us alone. But if a supercivilization is out there, silent and watching, then maybe survival is already decided. The real question is whether their silence hides danger or mercy. The consciousness gap. When we talk about aliens, we often assume they would think like us. Maybe they would be more logical, more advanced, or more intelligent, but still relatable. We imagine we could talk to them, exchange ideas, or at least recognize their thoughts. But what if that assumption is wrong? What if alien minds are not just smarter or dumber, but fundamentally different? This is the idea behind the consciousness gap hypothesis, the possibility that even if intelligent civilizations exist, their minds may be so alien that true communication is impossible. The Fermi Paradox asks, if life is common, where is everybody? The consciousness gap suggests the answer may be that they are here or nearby, but we cannot recognize them as conscious beings because their form of awareness is too unlike ours. We are trapped inside our own way of thinking, unable to bridge the gap. To see how wide this gap might be, let's start with Earth. Humans are not the only intelligent species here. Dolphins have sophisticated communication, memory, and social structures. Crows use tools and solve puzzles. Octopuses show remarkable problem-solving skills and individuality. Yet, despite decades of research, our ability to communicate with these animals is extremely limited. We can train them, we can recognize their intelligence, but we cannot hold deep conversations with them. Their consciousness is too different. Now imagine scaling that difference up across alien biology, chemistry, and evolution. If we struggle with dolphins, creatures that share our planet, DNA, and environment, how could we ever hope to communicate with a being from another world? The consciousness gap also works in both directions. It's not just that aliens might be incomprehensible to us, they might also find us incomprehensible. To them, our way of perceiving time, space, and thought might seem primitive, strange, or even nonsensical. They might not recognize us as intelligent at all. For example, we think linearly, past, present, future, but what if aliens perceive all time simultaneously? To them, our limited viewpoint could seem like blindness. Just as we struggle to see consciousness in ants, they might overlook it in us. This raises the possibility that contact has already happened, but we missed it. Imagine aliens trying to communicate in a way we cannot detect, through chemical signals, magnetic fields, or patterns in quantum fluctuations. To them, these are obvious. To us, they are noise. We may have already dismissed alien attempts at communication because they did not fit our expectations of language. The silence of the stars could be an illusion, created by our inability to hear. Another angle is the scale of intelligence. Human brains are remarkable, but they are not limitless. We struggle to understand even our own consciousness. If aliens evolved minds much larger or more complex than ours, their thoughts might be as far beyond us as calculus is beyond a cat. We might perceive their actions, but never understand the reasons. Even if they tried to explain, their concepts could be too advanced for our brains to grasp. The consciousness gap is not about technology. It is about the limits of thought itself. There's also the question of values. We assume that other civilizations would care about exploration, communication, or survival. But what if their consciousness leads to completely different priorities? They may be obsessed with things we cannot imagine, concepts that have no meaning in human language. They might not care about contact because their awareness is directed inward, toward realities we cannot perceive. From their perspective, reaching out to us could be as meaningless as us trying to have a conversation with bacteria.
The consciousness gap also makes us rethink the idea of intelligence itself. We define intelligence in human terms: problem-solving, communication, tool use. But what if intelligence is broader? What if consciousness can take forms we don't recognize, emergent patterns in plasma clouds, networks of fungi, or even stars themselves? Some philosophers and scientists have suggested that consciousness may not require brains at all. If that's true, then we may already be surrounded by alien consciousness, but we don't recognize it. The silence of the stars may be our own blindness. This idea also connects to technology. We search for radio signals because that's what we use. But aliens with different consciousness might never invent radios. Their intelligence might not manifest as technology at all. They may not build machines, but instead shape themselves, their ecosystems, or their environments in ways we don't perceive as civilization. To us, they look like natural planets or stars. To them, they are living expressions of intelligence. The consciousness gap hides them in plain sight. The paradox becomes especially haunting when we think about survival. Maybe civilizations do exist, but they never reach out to others because they cannot. The gap between minds is too vast. Even if we sit in the same galaxy, sharing the same universe, we are forever separated by the boundaries of perception. Each consciousness exists in its own bubble, unable to truly connect with others. The universe may be full of voices, but none can understand one another. For humanity, the consciousness gap is both a challenge and a mirror. It reminds us of how limited our perspective is. We want the universe to be full of beings like us, but the truth may be far stranger. If we want to find others, we may need to expand our idea of intelligence, beyond human thought, beyond human senses, beyond the plasma life-form hypothesis. When we think of life, we usually imagine something based on biology: carbon molecules, DNA, cells, and liquid water. Our entire definition of life is built from Earth's example. But what if that assumption is too narrow? What if alien life does not look anything like us, not even like plants, animals, or microbes? The plasma life-form hypothesis suggests that alien life could exist as patterns of energy, electromagnetic fields, or plasma, living beings made not of flesh and blood but of charged particles and light. At first, this sounds strange, even impossible, but plasma is actually the most common state of matter in the universe. More than 99% of visible matter, stars, nebulae, and much of interstellar space, is plasma. If life arises wherever matter is abundant, then plasma-based life might not only be possible, but common. In fact, biological, carbon-based life like us could be the rare exception, while plasma life could be the rule. So how could plasma become alive? Scientists have studied how plasma behaves under certain conditions. In laboratories, they've seen plasma spontaneously form complex, self-organizing structures, loops, filaments, and knots that maintain themselves over time. Some even appear to communicate with one another by exchanging energy. These behaviors, while not life as we know it, resemble some qualities of living systems: organization, persistence, and interaction. If simple plasma can do this in a lab, what might it do on cosmic scales over billions of years? Imagine alien creatures living in stars, sustained by the flow of charged particles and magnetic fields. Their bodies could be vast, spanning hundreds of kilometers or more. They might communicate through bursts of radiation, shaping plasma currents the way we shape sound waves. Their lifespans could be measured in millennia, tied to the stability. The plasma lifeform hypothesis also asks us to rethink intelligence itself. We define intelligence as something that evolves through survival struggles, adaptation, and problem solving. But what would intelligence look like in beings that are not limited by hunger, reproduction, or death in the biological sense? Plasma life might not think as we do. Their awareness could be slow, shaped over centuries, or it could be incredibly fast, moving at the speed of light. They may not have individual identities, but exist as collective fields, merging and dividing like waves in an ocean. From our perspective, this would not look like intelligence at all. From theirs, we might appear primitive and incomprehensible. And here's the unsettling possibility. What if plasma life is vastly more advanced than us? While we struggle to leave our planet, they may already span stars, manipulating energy on scales we cannot imagine. Their technology might not involve machines or structures, but direct control of plasma, radiation, and magnetism. A Dyson sphere, a structure built to capture the energy of a star, might be irrelevant to them because they are the star. For such beings, the idea of communicating with us could be as absurd as us trying to communicate with rocks. This hypothesis also offers a dark interpretation of the silence. Perhaps we are surrounded by plasma civilizations, but they see no reason to contact us. To them, we may not even qualify as life. Just as we don't attempt to have conversations with bacteria, they may overlook us entirely. The silence of the stars may not mean emptiness, it may mean dismissal. But there is also wonder in this idea. Plasma life could be unimaginably beautiful, vast, glowing minds dancing in the storms of stars, communicating in waves of light and magnetism. They might see the universe in ways we cannot, perceive dimensions we do not, and the reverse Fermi Paradox. The Fermi Paradox is usually framed as a question. If the universe is so vast, so old, and seemingly so full of potential for life, then why don't we see any evidence of aliens? Where is everybody? For decades, scientists, philosophers, and dreamers have puzzled over this silence. But the reverse Fermi Paradox turns this question upside down. Instead of asking why the stars are silent, it asks why we expected them to be loud in the first place. Maybe silence is not strange at all. Maybe silence is exactly what we should have expected all along. When you step back and think about it, the assumption that the galaxy should be crowded with civilizations comes more from human imagination than from evidence. We look at billions of stars and billions of planets and assume life must be everywhere. But probability does not guarantee distribution we can observe. Even if intelligent civilizations exist, the odds of detecting them may be vanishingly small. The cosmos is too vast, too slow, and too fragmented for us to expect an easy answer. The paradox may be less about absence and more about our inflated expectations. One of the strongest reasons the silence makes sense is distance. The Milky Way galaxy contains more than 100 billion stars, spread across a disk 100,000 light-years wide. Even if civilizations arise, they could be separated by thousands of light-years. The sheer distances mean that communication is unlikely, travel is nearly impossible with our current understanding of physics, and signals would take centuries or millennia just to cross from one side to another. Imagine two people shouting on opposite sides of Earth. They will never hear one another. The same principle applies to civilizations scattered across galactic scales. Time adds another layer to the problem. Civilizations may not last long. They rise, flourish, and eventually coalesce. There is also the question of bias. We expect life to be common because we are here, and our existence feels inevitable. But this is an illusion. We are here to ask the question only because Earth happened to produce intelligence. That does not mean intelligence is common elsewhere. Perhaps we are an extreme rarity, the result of a long string of accidents and coincidences that almost never repeat. The silence of the stars, then, is not a mystery, but a confirmation of how unlikely we are. The reverse Fermi paradox forces us to reconsider our assumptions. Instead of being shocked by the absence of aliens, we should be shocked that we expected them at all. The silence is not strange, it is normal. The odds were never in favor of us finding neighbors quickly, or maybe even at all. The real paradox is not where is everybody, but why did we think they would be everywhere? This reversal carries powerful implications. Perhaps we are the first civilization in the galaxy. If intelligence is rare and young, we may be among the earliest to appear. The silence makes sense because the others have not emerged yet. In that case, the future of intelligence in the universe may rest on us. We are not just observers of the cosmos, we may be its pioneers, the first voices in a still silent choir. Or perhaps we are not the first, but among the last. Civilizations may have flourished billions of years ago, only to disappear. If so, the silence is not emptiness but aftermath, the faint echo of a galaxy that once lived and is now quiet. We may be standing on the ruins of a cosmic history too old to trace. The stars may be grave markers, not invitations. For humanity, this perspective is both sobering and inspiring. If silence is the default, then our existence is extraordinary. We beat the odds. Against incredible improbability, we became a species capable of looking up at the sky and asking, the sleeper's hypothesis, one of the strangest explanations for the silence of the stars, is the idea that advanced civilizations may not be gone, absent, or hiding. They may simply be asleep. This concept is called the sleeper's hypothesis, and it suggests that alien civilizations could be waiting in a kind of cosmic hibernation, pausing their activities until conditions in the universe become more favorable. Instead of spreading across the stars right now, they are conserving energy, resting, and waiting for the right moment to awaken. The idea comes from looking at the long future of the universe. Right now, stars are hot, galaxies are active, and the cosmic background radiation, the faint glow left over from the Big Bang, is still relatively warm. But over billions and trillions of years, the universe will cool, stars will burn out, galaxies will dim, and energy will become scarcer. Some scientists argue that intelligent civilizations, if they think on these massive timescales, might choose not to act now, when energy is expensive to use, but to wait until the universe cools. In a colder cosmos, the same amount of energy could perform far more computation and sustain far more activity. For a civilization that values efficiency, waiting is the smartest strategy. This turns the Fermi paradox on its head. We expect civilizations to be active now, building megastructures, colonizing galaxies, and broadcasting signals. But if they are truly advanced, they may see that as short-sighted. Why waste precious resources in a hot, chaotic era when patience yields greater rewards? If the sleeper's hypothesis is true, then the galaxy may be full of civilizations, but they are dormant, waiting for the far future. The silence is not absence, it is sleep. There are many ways this could happen. Perhaps civilizations upload themselves into digital minds, then shut down their systems, conserve. Of course, the hypothesis leads to unsettling questions about awakening. What happens when these civilizations wake up? Would they look upon younger species like us with curiosity, indifference, or hostility? If they are billions of years older, their return could be overwhelming. To them, we might seem insignificant, like insects awakening early in the spring before the larger creatures emerge. The silence of the stars could be the calm before a storm, a universe full of sleeping titans who have yet to stir. Some versions of the idea are even darker. What if the act of sleeping is not voluntary but forced? Perhaps civilizations reach a point where continuing is impossible. They must shut down, hibernate, or risk extinction. Maybe the laws of physics or the structure of the universe itself make sleep the only option for survival. In that case, every civilization, no matter how advanced, eventually enters the same state, silent, hidden, and waiting. The silence we hear is not a choice, but a necessity. For humanity, the sleeper's hypothesis is both humbling and inspiring. It reminds us that our sense of urgency, our drive to expand, explore, and conquer, may be a young species perspective. We think in decades or centuries. Advanced civilizations may think in trillions of years. Their silence may not be apathy or absence. It may simply be perspective. They are willing to wait longer than we can imagine because for them, time itself is a resource. It also forces us to consider our own future. Could we one day choose to sleep? If humanity becomes digital, if we upload our minds into machines, we may face the same decision. Do we use our resources now, or do we hibernate, conserving energy until the universe cools? The path of the sleepers may not be alien at all. It may be our destiny. The silence of the stars, then, is not the silence of emptiness. It is the silence of
the anti-communication paradox. When we imagine contact with extraterrestrials, we usually picture a moment of triumph, a signal received across the stars, proof that we are not alone, a great exchange of knowledge. But what if the truth is the opposite? What if the very act of communication is the greatest danger in the universe? This idea is called the anti-communication paradox, and it suggests that intelligent civilizations may avoid sending or receiving messages not because they cannot, but because they know that communication itself could lead to disaster. At the heart of this paradox is a chilling thought. Speaking into the void might be the most dangerous thing a civilization can do. Imagine shouting in a dark forest at night. You don't know what might be listening. It could be a friend, but it could also be a predator. The safest option is silence. In cosmic terms, civilizations that broadcast their presence may be exposing themselves to threats, whether from hostile aliens, opportunistic predators, or simply advanced beings with no concern for their survival. This idea connects strongly with the dark forest hypothesis, which paints the universe as a dangerous place where every civilization hides to survive. But the anti-communication paradox goes further. It does not simply suggest that silence is wise. It suggests that silence is the rule. Any civilization that breaks it by broadcasting messages or responding to signals might quickly regret it. Over cosmic timescales, only those who stay silent endure. This would explain why the stars seem so quiet. The ones who spoke up are no longer around. We can see the logic when we look at human history. When isolated cultures came into contact, the results were often catastrophic for the less advanced group. Diseases, colonization, and exploitation followed. Communication brought knowledge, but also domination. In the same way, if a young civilization like ours shouts into the cosmos, we may attract attention from beings far beyond our ability to resist. What we see as an invitation for friendship could be, to them, an invitation to conquest. But the anti-communication paradox is not only about predators. Even well-meaning contact could destroy us. Imagine receiving an alien signal filled with advanced knowledge. At first, this might seem like a gift, but knowledge can destabilize societies. Technologies we do not understand could lead to collapse. Ideas we cannot process could unravel our cultures and values. The aliens may not intend harm, but their communication could still destroy us. Silence, in this view, is not cruelty. It is protection. Another angle is deception. How can you trust a message from the stars? Even if it seems benign, even if it offers peace, how do you know it is not a trap? In human history, deception has often been a tool of survival. In the galaxy, the stakes are higher. A single false message could lure civilizations into vulnerability. The only defense is to avoid communication altogether. From this perspective, silence is the only rational strategy. There's also the problem of comprehension. Communication assumes common ground, language, logic, or shared experience. But alien minds may be so different from ours that true understanding is impossible. Misinterpretation could lead to disaster. A message we think is harmless could be dangerous. A signal meant as peace could be read as a threat. The anti-communication paradox suggests that the risks of misunderstanding outweigh the benefits. Better to say nothing than to say the wrong thing. This raises haunting possibilities about the galaxy. Perhaps it is full of civilizations, all listening but none speaking. Each waits, hoping to hear others, but afraid to reveal themselves. The silence is not emptiness. It is mutual fear. Every planet, every star system could be alive with listeners holding their breath. To us, it looks like nothing, but in truth, it may be a vast cosmic standoff, a galaxy where everyone has agreed that survival depends on never speaking first. Humanity, of course, has not followed this strategy. For decades, we have leaked radio and television signals into space. We have even sent deliberate messages, like the Arecibo signal, aimed at distant star clusters. We launched plaques and golden records aboard the Pioneer and Voyager spacecraft, carrying maps to our solar system. In our optimism, we assume that communication is safe, even noble. But from the perspective of the anti-communication paradox, we may already have made a mistake. If others are listening, we have revealed ourselves. The only question is whether they care or whether they are patient. The paradox also has implications for our future. Should we continue searching for signals? Should we reply if we ever detect one? Some scientists argue that listening is safe, but responding is reckless. Others argue that even listening could expose us if it forces us to act. If we believe the anti-communication paradox, the safest strategy may be silence on both sides. No signals sent, no signals answered. In such a universe, first contact may never happen, not because no one is there, but because everyone has agreed that silence is survival. There is a darker possibility still. What if there were once civilizations that tried to communicate, but they are gone now? Their signals may have attracted destruction. Their downfall may be the warning the galaxy has already heard. If so, the silence of the stars is not mystery, but memory. Every civilization learns the same lesson. Those who speak vanish. Those who remain silent endure. For humanity, the anti-communication paradox is a sobering reminder that the cosmos may not be the friendly place we hope it is. We may dream of signals, conversations, and alliances across the stars, but the reality may be that communication is suicide. The true test of intelligence may not be curiosity, but restraint, the wisdom to remain quiet in a universe where noise brings danger. In the end, the paradox reframes the Fermi question. The silence we hear is not puzzling. It is inevitable. Every civilization, sooner or later, discovers that communication is too dangerous. The galaxy is not empty. It is full of listeners, holding their breath in the dark, praying no one else makes a sound. The cosmic inflation paradox, the universe is vast, so vast that even our most powerful telescopes can only glimpse a fraction of it. Yet according to modern cosmology, what we see is not the whole story. The leading theory of the early universe, called cosmic inflation, suggests that in the first tiny fraction of a second after the Big Bang, space expanded faster than the speed of light. In that brief instant, the universe grew from subatomic size to cosmic size, smoothing out irregularities and setting the stage for galaxies, stars, and planets. But inflation has a strange consequence. It implies that what we can see is just one small patch of a much larger whole. Beyond our horizon, space may go on forever, or even split into countless bubble universes. This creates what we call the cosmic inflation paradox. If inflation is real, the universe should be unimaginably larger than what we observe, perhaps infinite in scale. And if it is that large, then intelligent life should be overwhelmingly abundant. So, why don't we see it? The paradox begins with probability. In an infinite or near-infinite universe, every possibility should play out somewhere. With trillions upon trillions of stars and planets, the odds of life forming should be staggeringly high. Not just once, not just rarely, but repeatedly, in countless forms. Civilizations should be everywhere, filling the cosmic stage. Yet when we look out into the night sky, we see only emptiness. No signals, no structures, no evidence of galactic empires. Cosmic inflation tells us the stage is massive, but the actors seem missing. The paradox is not only, where is everybody, but why is the infinite silent? One possible explanation is that cosmic inflation makes the universe too big. Civilizations may exist, but they are so far away that communication or travel is impossible. Even light, the fastest thing we know, cannot cross infinite distances. We are trapped in our observable bubble, cut off from the rest. The silence is not a sign of absence, but of separation. Aliens could be thriving just beyond our cosmic horizon, but we will never know. To us, they might as well not exist. But there's a deeper twist. If inflation produced countless bubble universes, each one could have different physical laws. In some, stars might not form. In others, chemistry might be impossible. In still others, life could arise in forms we cannot imagine. Our universe might be one of the rare few where conditions are just right for life as we know it. If so, then we are special, not because life is inevitable, but because we exist in a bubble where life is possible at all. The silence of the stars may not be a puzzle. It may be the natural result of most universes being lifeless, with only rare exceptions. Yet even within our own bubble, the paradox persists. Cosmic inflation predicts so many stars and planets that it seems unlikely we are alone. So, perhaps the answer is not absence, but visibility. Civilizations could exist, but we cannot recognize them. They may operate on scales beyond our comprehension. Galactic networks of energy, civilizations made of plasma, or minds embedded in the structure of space-time itself. From our perspective, they would look like natural phenomena, quasars, black holes, or background radiation. The silence may be an illusion created by our own limitations. Another unsettling possibility is that inflation has created too much time as well as space. If civilizations are scattered across vast distances, their signals may take billions of years to arrive. By the time we receive them, they may already be extinct. The universe is not just large, it is old. Civilizations may flare up like sparks, but the gaps between them are too wide for connection. The silence is not absence, it borrows timing. The cosmic inflation paradox also challenges our sense of meaning. If the universe is infinite, then somewhere, everything happens. Somewhere, there are civilizations identical to ours. Somewhere, there are humans who made different choices. Somewhere, there are entire galaxies filled with life. But if all possibilities exist, then our particular existence may feel insignificant. Why does it matter if there are infinite copies? Yet from another perspective, this makes our existence even more extraordinary. Out of infinite possibilities, we are here, alive, conscious, and asking these questions. The silence does not diminish us. It makes our voice unique in the patch of universe we can reach. For humanity, the paradox is both inspiring and terrifying. If inflation is correct, then the universe is far richer than we ever dreamed. But it also means the odds of contact are slim. We may be forever confined to our small bubble, separated from other civilizations by horizons we cannot cross. The dream of galactic community may be impossible, not because no one else is out there, but because the universe is too vast for us to ever meet them. And yet, the paradox also carries hope. If the universe is infinite, then somewhere life endures. Somewhere civilizations thrive. Somewhere the great questions of existence have been answered. We may never reach them, but their existence is almost guaranteed. The silence we hear does not mean loneliness. It means limitation. Our horizon is small, but the universe is not. In the end, the cosmic inflation paradox reframes the Fermi question in the grandest possible way. The universe may be infinite, civilizations may be abundant, and yet we may never meet them. The silence is not a mystery. It is the price of living in a cosmos too vast for voices to carry across. We are alone in our bubble, but not in the universe. The challenge for us is to make meaning within the limits of our horizon, to treasure the fragile miracle of consciousness here, and to remember that even if we never hear another voice, the universe is still full of stories waiting to be told.